The call shouldn't have been possible. That was my first thought before I even answered it, because the system didn't show a number. No location. No network tag. Just a blank line that kept blinking like it was waiting for me specifically. Then the headset clicked on by itself, and a man started breathing into my ear. Fast. Broken. Like he was running on empty lungs. Hello, hello, please. Can anyone hear me? I sat up straighter. My hand moved to the keyboard. Without thinking. 911. What is your location? I said, following protocol. But the screen flickered the second I spoke. The map tried to load. Failed. Tried again. Failed again. Then a message appeared that I had never seen before. Location not found. I frowned. That didn't happen. Not in our system. Sir, I said carefully, can you tell me where you are? A long pause. Just wind in the background now. Strong wind. Empty sound. Like an open road with nothing around it for miles. Then his voice came back. I don't think this road is supposed to exist. My fingers stopped moving. That line didn't match any normal panic call. People say they're lost. Confused. Injured. Nobody says the road itself is wrong. Describe your surroundings, I said. A shaky breath. Then, there are no signs. No lights. Just asphalt, and it keeps going. Another pause. Then his voice dropped lower. And something is behind me. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not fear yet, just that small, uncomfortable shift when a call stops feeling routine. Stay calm, I said. Are you in a vehicle? Yes, he said quickly. Yes, I'm driving. But... His breath hitched. I don't remember getting on this road. I looked at the map again. Still nothing. No GPS ping. No tower connection. No trace of a vehicle. But the call was live. And I could hear it clearly. Too clearly. Like he was sitting in the room with me. Sir, I said slowly. Check your surroundings. Any landmarks? Anything at all? Static cracked through the line for half a second. Then he whispered something that made my stomach drop slightly. There's a sign, he said. I leaned forward. What does it say? A long silence. Wind louder now. Then, it just says, keep driving. I blinked. That's not a road sign, I said before I could stop myself. I know, he snapped suddenly. His voice broke. I know it's not normal. But IT wasn't there before. I swear IT wasn't there before. The line distorted for a second, like the audio itself was struggling. Then a second voice came through. Not the caller. Something else. Calm. Clear. Too close. You're already on it. I froze. Sir, I said quickly. Did you say something else? No, he replied instantly. No, I didn't say anything. But I heard it. So clearly, like it had spoken directly into my headset. I checked the system logs again. Still one active call. Still no location. But now the timestamp was wrong. It showed the call started midnight. Not a real time. A reset time. My fingers hesitated over the dispatch buttons. Something about this felt off in a way I couldn't explain yet. Sir, I said, lowering my voice, do not stop the vehicle. Keep driving straight. I'm sending units to your area. I pressed the dispatch key. The system froze. Not crashed, just paused. Then a message appeared slowly on the screen. No units available for this location. I frowned. That doesn't make sense. I muttered. The caller heard me. What do you mean? He asked immediately. What does that mean? I didn't answer right away, because I was staring at the map again. It had changed, not dramatically, just slightly. A thin gray line had appeared where nothing was before. A road, long, empty, unmarked, no name, no coordinates. Just a straight stretch cutting through blank space like it had always been there, and I had just been too blind to see it. And now it was glowing. My mouth went dry. Sir, I said carefully, can you confirm something for me? Anything, he said fast. Do you see any buildings around you? No, he whispered. Nothing. Just trees far away sometimes, but they don't look right. Another pause. Then he added something quieter. They move when I don't look at them. I swallowed. My grip tightened on the desk. This was not a normal call. It wasn't even a normal emergency. Something about it felt structured, like a system testing itself through him. And then I realized something worse. His breathing had started matching mine, slowly, subtly, like it was syncing. I pulled the headset slightly away from my ear. The breathing stopped. I put it back on. It returned instantly. I looked around the room. Empty desks. Fluorescent lights humming softly. Everything normal. But the voice on the line spoke again. And this time, it sounded closer than before. I can see headlights now, he said. I leaned in. Good, I said quickly. That means there's another vehicle nearby. Stay focused on them. A pause. Then his voice cracked. No, he said. They're behind me. A sharp burst of static. Then silence for 3 full seconds. The kind of silence that doesn't feel natural in a live call. Then the system audio spiked. And I heard it, not his voice anymore. Multiple voices, layered, different tones, different panic levels, all speaking at once. I already passed this point. I never turned here. There's no exit. The road is longer than it should be. I stood up slightly from my chair. What's happening? I said under my breath. The system responded immediately. Nothing is happening. That was the message, in all caps, right in the center of the screen. My breathing slowed. That shouldn't have been a system response. That was almost like an answer. The caller came back suddenly, gasping. I see it, he said. I sat back down fast. What do you see? A pause. Then a second road. My fingers froze. What do you mean a second road? It's beside me, he said. It wasn't there a minute ago. It's exactly the same, but empty. I felt my skin go cold. 2 identical roads. Parallel. One occupied. One empty. That shouldn't exist in any geography model I knew. Sir, I said carefully, do not change lanes. Stay where you are. I didn't change anything, he said quickly. It appeared next to me. Static cracked again, and then the second voice returned. The calm one. The one I didn't want to hear. You already chose it. The caller stopped speaking. For a second, I thought the line dropped. Then he whispered, I think I'm seeing myself. My stomach tightened. Explain. I said immediately. I'm on the other road, he said slowly, but I can see me still driving here. My screen flickered again. This time, the map zoomed out on its own, and I saw it. The road wasn't alone. It was duplicated. 3 times now. Parallel lines stretching into nowhere, each one labeled with no coordinates. Only one word appeared under all of them. Active. My headset tightened slightly around my ears. Not physically, but perceptually, like pressure building behind my thoughts. The caller spoke again, but softer now. I think I understand, he said. What? I asked. A long pause. Then, I don't think I called you. My breath stopped. Then what did you do? I asked. A faint sound came through. Not wind, not static. Something like a smile in audio form. I think I answered you, he said. And the screen went black for half a second. When it came back, the call log had changed. Caller ID, dispatch unit. My chair creaked behind me, slowly, like someone had just leaned back in it. And the voice on the line whispered one final thing before the signal twisted into static. Now you're on the road, too. The screen in front of me flickered once, then went completely still. No updates, no new calls, just a dead silence in the system that felt too clean, too perfect. Then the line lit up again. 911, what is your emergency? A man's voice came through, shaky, breathing heavy, like he was running while talking. I'm on Route 91. I think. I don't know. The road keeps changing. I sat up straight. Route 91 existed. At least it used to. I typed it in. Nothing came up. Not even a match error. Just blank space. Like the road had never been entered into the system at all. I swallowed. Sir, can you confirm your location? There was a long pause. Wind noise filled the line. Strong wind. Like he was standing in the middle of nowhere. I'm telling you, he said, voice rising. The road was here 5 minutes ago. Now it's gone. Behind him, I heard tires on gravel, then suddenly asphalt, then silence again. My fingers froze over the keyboard because the GPS overlay on my screen just shifted, not updated. Shifted, like something underneath the map had moved. I blinked hard. Sir, stay on the line. Help is... The call cracked. Static swallowed his voice. Then something else came through. Not the man. Something deeper. Layered. Like multiple voices trying to speak through the same mouth. You shouldn't be seeing this road. I pulled the headset slightly away from my ear. Every instinct told me to hang up, but the system wouldn't let me. The call was still active, even though the line was broken, even though the audio was collapsing into noise. It was still running, and the timestamp it hadn't changed. It was frozen at the exact second the call started. That's when the second call came in. Another dispatcher picked it up in the background, confused. 911, what is your emergency? But I could hear it, even through my own headset. Same voice, same man, same panic. I'm on Route 91. Please, I don't know where I am anymore. My stomach tightened. I looked at the call log. There was only one entry, but I could hear two calls at once. One live, one already recorded. They were overlapping, like time had folded in on itself. Sir, I said into my mic, trying to stay calm. Are you seeing any landmarks? His breathing stopped for half a second. Then he whispered something that made my skin go cold. There's a sign here, but it's wrong. Read it to me. I said quickly. Static surged. Then his voice came through again, slower this time. Exit 91. But the words are backwards. I zoomed into the map. Route 91 was gone. Not hidden, not rerouted. Gone. In its place was empty grid space. Like someone had erased it with a clean stroke. But the call was still active, still screaming through my headset. And now, something new happened. A third voice joined. Calm. Close. Too close. You are listening incorrectly. I froze. That voice did not belong to the caller or the dispatcher. It sounded like it was inside the system itself. I checked the audio feed. Only one source. But three voices were present. The man started yelling again. I see cars, but they're not moving right. They're frozen like pictures. Then another shift. Wind stopped. Completely. No background noise at all. Just breathing. But it wasn't his breathing anymore. It was mine. I realized I was breathing in sync with the call. I pulled back from the desk. My chair creaked too loudly in the silence. Across the room, my coworker glanced at me. Everything okay? She asked. I didn't answer, because she wasn't looking at me. She was looking at my screen, and her face had gone pale. Why is that call duplicated? She whispered. I turned back. The screen now showed two identical active calls. Same ID, same timestamp. One labeled live, one labeled archive. But both were moving, both were speaking, and both were bleeding into each other. The archive one spoke first. Calm, controlled. This unit confirms Route 91 does not exist. Then the live one screamed back. It's right here, don't you see it? The system flickered. Once, twice. Then every map tile on my screen started to shift at the same time. Highways moved. Town names blurred. Entire sections of land rewrote themselves like wet ink being smudged. I stood up, shut it down. I said out loud, no one moved. The supervisor behind glass didn't even look up, like they couldn't hear me anymore. But I could still hear the call, still feel it. Now the voices weren't just overlapping. They were arguing, not with each other. With me, you are delaying response. That road is unstable. You have already seen it once. I backed away from the console. My chair hit the wall. My heart was loud in my ears. Disconnected. I said again, louder. My coworker tried. Her fingers moved over the system. But every time she hit terminate, the system reconnected itself. Like it refused to end. Like it wasn't a call anymore. It was a loop. And then the caller spoke again. But his voice had changed. He sounded calmer now. Too calm. I think I understand it now, he said softly. I leaned forward without meaning to. What do you understand? I asked. A pause. Then, the road isn't missing. It's just not stable yet. The lights in the dispatch room flickered. Once, then twice. My screen refreshed, and for half a second, I saw something outside the map layer. A road. Not drawn, not digitized. Just there, stretching across nothing. And standing on it was a car. Stopped, facing nowhere. The line crackled violently. The man's voice came back, shaking again. It's getting closer to me now. What is... I asked. He didn't answer directly. Instead, he said something that didn't make sense at first. I think I've already called this in before. My fingers went cold. That's when I checked the system logs again. The call history expanded on its own, not recent calls. Old ones. Same location tag. Same missing highway. Different dates. Different callers. All reporting the same thing. And every single one ended the same way. Caller lost connection after reporting road instability. But the time stamps, they were not going forward. They were going backward. The system was replaying them in reverse order. And then I saw something worse. One of the archive calls had my ID attached to it. Not as dispatcher, as caller. I stepped back again, shaking my head. No, I whispered. No, that's not possible. But the system didn't care. The live call suddenly dropped into silence, then came back. But it wasn't the man anymore. It was me, my own voice. Calm, controlled. I confirm Route 91 does not exist. I grabbed the headset off my head like it was burning. My co-worker was staring at me now, not the screen. Me. What did you just say? She asked. I shook my head fast. That wasn't me. But even as I said it, I could still hear my voice inside the system, repeating, looping, over and over, confirming something I had never said. The archive call finished playing, and for the first time, the system marked it as resolved. Automatically, without input, without consent, a green label appeared on the screen. Closed. I exhaled slowly, thinking it was over, but then the supervisor's console beeped once. A new entry appeared. Same case number. Same road. New status. Reopen. Assigned to operator ID current. My ID. Before I could react, the live system pinged again. Another call. Same number. Same origin. Route 91. But this time, it wasn't asking for help. It was already inside the system, and it knew exactly who I was. The dispatch alert came through before I even finished reading the previous log. No delay, no system lag, just instant escalation. Unit dispatched to Route 91 investigation. I froze. There was no request for approval, no supervisor's signature. It just happened like the system had decided on its own. My screen refreshed again, and I saw it. 2 patrol units were now assigned, but I never sent 2. I only saw 1. Then the second one appeared like it had always been there. Unit 17, Unit 18, both marked en route, both heading toward a road that didn't exist yesterday. My mouth went dry because I knew one of those units. Officer Daniels. He worked nights like me. Calm guy, never panicked. Even during accidents most people wouldn't walk away from. I keyed the radio. Unit 17 confirmed dispatch location. Static answered first. Then his voice came through. Clear. Too clear. Dispatch. We're heading northbound on Route 91. Road looks normal so far. I leaned closer. Officer Daniels. I said, slower now. Confirm visual markers. A pause. Then a second voice joined his transmission. Not overlapping. Layered. Like something else was speaking at the same time through the same radio. We confirmed visibility decreasing. I sat up straight. Unit 18. Repeat last transmission. I said quickly. No answer. Just breathing. Heavy. Controlled. Then suddenly, the trees are wrong. That wasn't Daniels. That was Unit 18. I checked the system again. Their GPS markers were moving, but not normally. They were not following a road. They were drifting, like the map underneath them was reshaping itself in real time. My stomach tightened. Units, report terrain. I said. Daniels responded first. Flat highway. 2 lanes. No traffic. Fog setting in fast. Unit 18 cut in immediately after. There is no highway here. I blinked because both units were showing the same coordinates, same location, but reporting 2 different worlds. One real, one impossible, and both were correct in the system. My cursor hovered over their feed. The map flickered, then shifted slightly, and I saw something I shouldn't have. The road line was moving, not scrolling, moving like it was alive. I whispered, "That's not possible," but the radio didn't care. Daniels again. Dispatch, confirm weather update. Fog is thickening fast. Visibility dropping under. His voice cracked, just for a second, then came back distorted. Something is blocking the headlights. My screen froze, then auto-zoomed without input, and I saw it, their patrol car feed, front camera view, but the road ahead was changing. Every few seconds, the asphalt texture shifted, sometimes smooth, sometimes cracked, sometimes dirt, sometimes nothing at all, like the environment couldn't decide what it was supposed to be. Unit 18 spoke again. We are no longer on Route 91. I leaned forward. Then where are you? I asked before I could stop myself. Silence. Then Daniels answered instead. We are still moving forward. My hands tightened around the desk. Unit 17 stopped the vehicle. I ordered a pause. Engine noise. Then Daniels. We can't. My throat went dry. Why not? That's when the transmission changed. Not cut. Changed. Like someone else took control mid-sentence. Because stopping is no longer a valid state. I pulled back from the console. My coworker turned toward me. Are they losing GPS? She asked. I shook my head slowly. No, GPS is losing them. On screen, both units' markers started duplicating. One stayed stable. The other began splitting, like their positions couldn't agree on where they were supposed to exist. Then Unit 18 screamed. Not fear, confusion. The road is turning. Static swallowed the rest. Daniels came through again, quieter now. Dispatch. I think we passed the same tree 3 times. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Describe it, I said. He hesitated. Then, it has a mark carved into it, like a symbol. But every time we pass it, it changes shape. My system pinged again. Another alert. But this one wasn't from the units. It was from the map itself. Error. Terrain desync detected. My screen flickered hard, then showed something new. A looping image feed of their route. But each loop was different. First pass, normal highway. Second pass, broken asphalt. Third pass, forest road. Fourth pass, empty void. Same coordinates. Different reality every time. My breathing got shallow. Unit 17, I said again, forcing calm. Do you have visual of the horizon? Daniels answered. Yes. It keeps moving farther away. I froze. Explain. We are not getting closer to it anymore, he said. It's getting further from us. A long silence followed. Then Unit 18 spoke again, voice barely audible. I think the road is remembering something. That made no sense. But the way he said it, he believed it. Suddenly, both feeds went quiet. Too quiet. No engine. No wind. No radio noise. Just silence. Then, a new transmission came through. But not from the units. From the system. Automatically logged. Unit 17. OFF route event detected. I stared at the screen. My fingers moved without thinking. I tried to pull up their last known location, but the map refused. Instead, it zoomed out, farther, farther, until I could see something I wasn't supposed to see. Route 91 wasn't just missing. It was fragmented, broken into pieces across the map, like it had been torn out of reality and scattered. Then I saw the patrol markers again, but they were no longer moving forward. They were looping, driving in circles, inside a space that didn't exist. My coworker whispered, "That's impossible. They'd notice." I didn't answer. because I saw it too. Inside the loop feed, the officers weren't reacting anymore. Their movements were delayed, like they were becoming part of the loop itself. Daniel's voice came back one last time, but it wasn't directed at dispatch anymore. It sounded like he was talking to himself. I think the road is learning us. Then Unit 18 followed. Calm now. Too calm. And we are forgetting how to leave it. The feed glitched. For half a second, I saw something outside the windshield. Not road. Not forest. Just a long empty stretch of gray space. No horizon. No sky. No end. Then silence. The radio went dead. Both units. Gone. My system didn't show lost contact. It showed something worse. Status updated. Arrival complete. I leaned back slowly. My chair felt too loud in the quiet room. My co-worker stared at the screen. They arrived? She asked. I didn't answer, because I knew what that meant. But the system wasn't finished yet. Another update appeared. Slow. Deliberate. Like it wanted me to read every word. Unit 17. Status confirmed. Unit 18. Status confirmed. Location. Route 91 active. My stomach dropped, because there was one more line underneath it. One that made my hands go completely still. Observed by dispatcher you. The screen flickered one final time, and the map zoomed out again, far enough this time that I could see a thin line forming across empty space, a road being drawn in real time, extending outward. And it wasn't just being built. It was growing, toward me. The first voice came through while I was still staring at the map, not from the screen, from my headset. I can see it now. I froze. It wasn't the radio channel. It wasn't a new call. It was already inside the open line I was holding. I checked the system. No active transmission. No incoming request. Just silence on paper. But in my ear, the voice continued. It's closer than before. My fingers tightened on the desk. Dispatch channel check, I said out loud. My co-worker looked at me. You're still on line 3? I nodded slowly, but I wasn't sure anymore, because line 3 was empty, and still I could hear breathing. Not mine, not hers, someone else's. Then another voice joined, not replacing the first, layering over it. Same tone, same panic. I told you the road was moving. My stomach dropped. That voice, I knew it, Officer Daniels. But he was gone, confirmed lost contact, marked as arrival complete. My screen still showed it, and yet I was hearing him again. I pulled the headset slightly away from my ear. The moment I did, the voices didn't stop. They followed, like the sound wasn't coming through the device anymore, like it was coming from somewhere behind it. Dispatch, are you still there? That wasn't Daniels. That was the original caller from days ago, the highwayman, the one who first reported Route 91. My chest tightened. I whispered, "This is not an active line," but the system responded anyway. Auto-open audio feed. Line 3, active. I didn't touch anything. It just switched itself back on. Another voice slid in immediately after. Calm, controlled, almost clinical. This unit confirms overlap has begun. My coworker leaned closer. What overlap? She asked. I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure if she could hear it, but I could hear it getting worse. 3 voices now, all speaking at once. Not fighting, not interrupting, coexisting, like they were sharing the same moment from different times. I stopped the car, but the road kept going. There is no stopping condition in this environment. I think it's following us now. I stood up. The chair scraped too loudly behind me. Shut off, I said quickly. My co-worker hit the console. Nothing changed. She tried again. Still nothing. The audio kept playing. But now something strange happened. The voices began responding to each other. Across time. Across calls. Across logs that shouldn't be connected. Daniel spoke first. We're still moving forward. Then the original caller answered him directly. You said that before. A pause. Then Daniels again. Before what? Silence. A full second of nothing. Then all 3 voices spoke at once. Before you called it in. My skin went cold, because that wasn't part of any recorded conversation. That was new, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it had always been there, and I was only hearing it now. The headset tightened against my ears, not physically, but perceptually, like the sound was closing in. I pulled it off completely. The room went silent for half a second. Peaceful, normal. Then my computer speakers turned on by themselves, and the voices continued. Louder now, unfiltered. I see dispatch. That wasn't through the radio. That was coming from a room, from every direction at once. My co-worker backed away from her console. What is happening? She whispered. I didn't have an answer, because the system wasn't just playing calls anymore. It was projecting them into the space, into us. The lights above flickered once, then stabilized, but the sound didn't. It multiplied. Now I could hear different versions of the same moment. The highway, the patrol units, the original distress call, all happening at once, inside the same frequency. Then Daniel's voice changed. Not tone, position, like he turned towards something unseen. I think we're inside the loop now. My breath stopped, because I didn't hear that on the radio. I heard it inside my own headset again, even though I wasn't wearing it. I looked at it on the desk. It was dark, disconnected, still, but the voice continued anyway. You are listening incorrectly. That same phrase, the one from before, the system voice. But now it wasn't layered. It was clear, directed at me. I stepped back from the console. No, I said quietly. No, I'm not part of this. The moment I said it, the audio spiked. All voices reacted, like they heard me, like I was inside the conversation now. The original caller spoke directly. Dispatch, you answered us. Daniels followed immediately. You kept us on the line. And then the system voice. Calm, final. That makes you part transmission history. My screen flickered violently. Then the call log opened itself. Scrolling. Fast. Too fast to read. But I saw enough. Every call. Every Route 91 incident. Every disappearance. Every lost contact. All of them now had one shared tag at the bottom. Dispatch participation. Confirmed. My name appeared under it. Not assigned. Not logged. Confirmed. My hand started shaking. This is not real, I said out loud. But the room didn't agree, because now the voices stopped arguing. They stopped overlapping. They synchronized, one after another, in perfect order. Like a chorus. Dispatcher is now en route. I shook my head fast. No, I never left the station. The system responded instantly. You did not need to leave. My co-worker grabbed my arm. Tell me you hear this too, she said. I looked at her, and for the first time, I wasn't sure, because the voices weren't coming from speakers anymore. They were in the space between us, around us, inside the room itself. Then everything on my screen changed. The map reappeared, but it wasn't zoomed out this time. It was zoomed in, too close, focused on one point. The station, a blinking marker, sat directly on our building. Unit designation, Dispatch Node 01. My co-worker stepped back. We're marked on the map, she whispered, but I was already seeing something worse. A line, extending outward from the station, just like the highway earlier. Slow, deliberate, growing. The same road, the same Route 91. Except now, it started here. The voices returned. Soft, almost gentle now. You are not observing anymore. You are connected. My headset lay still on the desk, but I could still hear Daniels, still hear the caller, still hear the system, all of them speaking through the same point. And then Daniels said something that made my stomach drop completely. We are approaching you now. I stepped back. My chair hit the wall again. No, I said, that's impossible. You're gone. A pause. Then his voice again. We were never gone. The lights flickered, and for a split second, the office didn't look like an office anymore. It looked like a road. Empty, endless, stretching where the walls used to be. Then it snapped back, but not fully, because now I could still hear it. The sound of something moving closer. Not outside, not on the radio. Inside the system, inside the line. And the last thing I heard before everything fully shifted was Daniel's voice again, right behind me. No transmission, no headset, just there. Dispatch, you're on the road now. It started with silence breaking wrong. Not the usual kind of 911 silence. Not the calm before the storm kind either. This was different. Heavy, like the line itself didn't want to exist. Then the voice came through. Please pick up. I think someone's inside the cabin. I remember freezing with my headset still halfway on. My hand stopped above the keyboard. Something about the way he said cabin felt off. Like he wasn't describing a place. He was trying to convince himself it existed. I leaned closer to the screen. No registered address showing. I muttered. The system was blank. No GPS ping. No tower location. Just a floating call signal with no origin point. That shouldn't happen. Sir, I said into the mic, keeping my voice steady. You need to give me your location. A pause. Then breathing. Fast. Wet. Like he was running while talking. I can't find the road again. It moved. I looked at my screen again. Still nothing. No highway match. No forest grid. Not even a nearby road cluster. Just empty space. My stomach tightened a little. What do you mean it moved? I asked. His voice cracked harder now. I pulled over 10 minutes ago. There was a cabin. Wooden. Old. I went in because I heard someone calling for help inside. A chill ran down my arms. I didn't like where this was going. Sir, are you injured? No, I'm fine, he said too quickly. But I think something is still inside. Then a sound cut through the line. A knock, not through the phone, through his end. Close, right next to him. He stopped speaking. I heard him breathing slowly now, controlled, like he was trying not to be noticed. Then he whispered, "It's right outside the cabin door." My fingers hovered over the dispatch alert button. My training kicked in. Send patrol. Mark unknown rural emergency. But I couldn't mark location. There was no location. Sir, I said carefully, do not open the door. A pause. Then, I didn't close it. That hit wrong. A long silence followed. Not dead silence. Something worse. Like the line was waiting. Then the static began. Soft at first. Like rain trapped inside wires. Then sharper. And inside it, I heard something. A voice. Not his. Not mine. Just there. Don't let it out. I pulled my headset back slightly. My heart ticked up. Sir, I said again. No response. Just breathing. Still on the line. Then a sound like with scraping. Slow. From inside his call. Not outside. Inside. My screen flickered for a split second. The system tried to auto-locate the call. Failed. Then something new appeared. A label. Unregistered structure detected. Unknown. My mouth went dry. I've never seen the system generate its own warning. Dispatch to unit. I said quickly, hitting the emergency channel. Possible rural structure. Unknown origin. Caller in distress. No GPS lock. My supervisor voice came in. Calm as always. Copy. Send coordinates. I don't have any. A pause. That's not possible. But it was, because the system still showed nothing. And the caller was still there, breathing, listening, waiting. Then suddenly he spoke again, and his voice changed. It wasn't panicked anymore. It was calm. Too calm. You're not supposed to answer this one, he said. My fingers stopped again. What did you say? A soft laugh came through the line. Not human. Not fully. You always answer it, he whispered. Every time. The static grew louder. And behind it, I heard multiple faint voices overlapping. Like the call wasn't one transmission anymore. It was many, all at once. And every voice said the same thing. Don't send them here. My screen flickered again. For a split second, I saw something impossible. A map, not ours. A forest road that shouldn't exist. Curving in ways roads don't curve. Folding into itself like it was drawn wrong. Then it disappeared. My breath caught. "Sir," I said slowly, "I need you to confirm your surroundings." A long pause. Then he whispered, almost crying again, "I think I'm inside it now." And then the line cut, just like that. No disconnect tone. No signal drop warning. Just gone. But my headset didn't go silent. The static stayed. And in it, faint but clear, I heard the knock again. Inside the line. Closer this time. And something scraping the door from the inside. The line shouldn't have been alive. But it was. Even after the call ended, the channel stayed open. Static filled my ears like a slow storm, heavy and uneven. I should have closed it, reset the system, marked it as dropped, but something stopped me, because inside the static, I kept hearing movement. Not noise, movement, like something pacing. I checked the log screen again. Call status, disconnected, but the audio feed still showed active signal. That made no sense. Reconnect failed source. I muttered. The system blinked. Then something strange happened. The static shifted. It wasn't random anymore. It formed rhythm, almost like breathing. In, out, in, out. And then a voice returned. Not the caller. Not at first. It was softer, closer. "Why did you let it in?" I froze. That voice wasn't part of the original call. I checked the log timestamps. Everything matched the same second the call dropped. But this voice sounded like it was speaking from a different moment. I leaned forward. "Identify yourself," I said automatically. Static crackled. Then the original caller's voice came back, but broken, layered under something else. I didn't let it in. But another voice overlapped immediately. "You opened the door." My screen flickered again. A second log line appeared. Call segment added. Intrusion audio. I felt my throat tighten. "What is that?" I whispered. No response. Instead, the static grew louder. And now I realized something worse. It wasn't one voice anymore. It was many, all speaking at once. Different tones, different ages, all trapped in the same transmission. "You shouldn't be listening. You already did this. It knows your channel now." I pulled my headset slightly away, but I couldn't stop listening. Something about it held me, like the sound itself was pulling attention. Then suddenly, my system auto-played the archive call. I didn't click anything. It just started. The same call, the same panic voice. But now I heard something I didn't hear before. Behind him, inside his audio, a second layer, whispering, "Dispatcher, dispatcher." I leaned closer. My fingers hovered over the mute button, but I didn't press it, because the whisper said my name, not just my title, my actual name. I went cold. "That's impossible," I said out loud. The system doesn't display personal identifiers, but the voice kept repeating it, soft, patient, like it was testing it. Then the static changed again, and suddenly I heard something I recognized, my own voice, from the archive call. But I hadn't spoken those words. "I can't locate your position. Please stay on the line." I looked at my mic. It was muted, but the recording continued. My voice repeated again, clearer, stronger. Then the original caller answered me. "I'm not outside anymore." My breath stopped, because I knew that line. I had never said it, but it sounded like something I would say. The static surged, and suddenly the audio split. Two timelines playing at once. One where I was dispatching normally, and another where I was already inside the call. I stood up without realizing it. My chair rolled back. "Stop playback," I said. Nothing. The system ignored me. The voices overlapped harder now. And then I heard it, right behind the static. A knock, inside my headset. Not through the system. Through me. I ripped one side off my ear. Silence hit for half a second. Then the whisper came from the other side. "You're still connected." My hand shook. I looked at the monitor. The archive call window had changed. It no longer said disconnected. It now said active current session. My stomach dropped. That wasn't possible, because I was here, in control room B. But the system didn't agree, and neither did the voice inside my headset. because now it sounded closer, like it was inside the room with me. The forest wasn't on any map. That was the first thing the team reported. Second thing was worse. They were already standing inside it. Dispatch, we have visual confirmation of something, Officer Grant said through radio. But coordinates are fluctuating. Fluctuating. That word made my skin tighten. I watched their feed from dispatch. Grainy camera view. Trees too dense. Too uniform. Like the forest had been copied and pasted too many times. No cabin visible. Another officer said. Just trees. No structures. I checked the original call location again. Still blank. No anchor point. But the officers kept moving deeper. And the deeper they went, the more unstable their signal became. Air feels wrong out here, one said. I leaned closer to the screen. What do you mean wrong? I whispered. He hesitated. Like, sound doesn't travel properly. Then the camera flickered. Just for a second. When it came back, something had changed. A wooden structure stood between the trees. Old, dark, exactly like the caller described. I sat up straight. It just appeared, Grant said, voice lower now. No one responded immediately, because all of us saw it. The cabin was there, but the ground around it looked disturbed. Fresh footprints. Wet wood, like someone had been moving in and out recently. Dispatch, Grant said. This structure is not on registry. I know, I said quietly, but something about it felt worse than that, because it didn't feel abandoned. It felt used, like someone was still inside. They approached slowly, camera shaking slightly, wind picking up unnaturally around the cabin. Then a sound, knocking, from inside. All officers stopped. Did you hear that? Someone asked. No one answered, because it wasn't just knocking. It was rhythmic, like a signal. Grant moved closer to the door. Hello, he called. Silence. Then a voice came from inside. Weak, panicked. I called you, you finally came. My chest tightened. That was the original caller. But how? The call had ended. Grant hesitated. We're opening the door, he said. Negative. I snapped instantly. Hold position. But they didn't wait. The door creaked open. Camera feed went static for half a second. When it cleared, the cabin was empty. Completely empty. No furniture. No signs of life. Just bare wooden walls. And in the center of the floor, a radio, still on, playing dispatch audio. My own voice. I can't locate your position. I felt my stomach twist. Grant whispered, this is impossible. But then something worse happened. The radio answered him, with his voice, not recorded, live. You already found me. The officers stepped back. One of them dropped the flashlight. It rolled across the cabin floor and stopped against the wall. And there, carved into the wood, were words. Not outside. Inside always. Grant backed out slowly. We're leaving, he said. But the forest behind them looked different now. The trees had shifted. The path they came from wasn't there anymore. Just more forest. More identical trees. No GPS lock, someone said urgently. Repeat, Grant said. GPS is gone. I felt my throat tighten, watching the feed, because I realized something. They were not lost in the forest. The forest was inside their signal. Then the radio in the cabin spoke one last time. Calm, clear, directly into all channels. Dispatch is already here. And the feed cut. The first sign was a silence, not absence of sound, absence of certainty. Every screen in dispatch flickered at the same time. All channels, all logs, all maps, resetting, then rewriting. I stood up slowly. System glitch, someone said behind me. But I knew it wasn't, because my headset was still on, and I could hear breathing, not from a caller, from the building, from inside the room. Check external feed. I said. No one moved, because the external feed was already showing us. Dispatch center, room B, us, sitting, working, talking, except we were slightly out of sync, like the footage was delayed by a few seconds. Or ahead. I leaned closer to my monitor. My reflection blinked, but I hadn't. A voice came through all speakers. Soft, familiar. It's easier this way. I froze, because it was my voice, but not spoken by me. The camera zoomed in on our room automatically. No one controlled it. Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. There were more of us than there should be. Extra figures in the reflection, standing behind operators, watching, but not reflected in reality. Shut down external systems, I said. Nothing responded, because now the system wasn't obeying commands. It was generating them. On the main screen, a final log opened. Call history. Complete. Under it, every case, every emergency, every dispatch, all linked to one point, this location. My hands went cold. This can't be real, I whispered. Then the speaker crackled again, and the original caller's voice returned. Calm now. No fear. Just understanding. You were never outside the road, it said. The lights in the room flickered, and for a second, the walls weren't walls anymore. They were trees, clothes, pressing in, like we were already inside the forest. But we hadn't moved, at least not physically. One of the operators screamed behind me, but when I turned, he wasn't looking at the screen. He was looking at the floor, at something only he could see. Then he whispered, "The cabin is here." My heart slammed, because I heard wood creaking. Inside the building, right under us, the system chimed. New status appeared. All units, dispatched. Location, current. And then I understood. The calls were never coming from outside. They were coming from where we already were. The headset tightened on my head, like it had become heavier. Anchored. The final voice came through. Close. Too close. You answered every call, it said. And every call brought it closer. The room lights went out, but the screen stayed on. And in their glow, I saw the cabin door. Inside dispatch, slowly opening. The phone rang before the accident even happened. That's the part one can't stop thinking about. Because at first, it sounded like every other night shift. Quiet room, dim monitors, coffee gone cold. Just me and the hum of the system that never really sleeps. Then the line lit up. 911, what is your emergency? A pause. Not empty. Not accidental. A pause like someone was waiting for reality to catch up. Then a voice came through. Mine. There's been a crash on Route 17. Black sedan. 2 vehicles involved. One flipped near the guardrail. Send help fast. I stopped breathing for a second, because I hadn't said anything like that. And more importantly, nothing like that had been reported. I checked the screen. No active incidents. No dispatch logs. No calls pending. Just a single incoming line still open. Sir, I said slowly, keeping my voice steady. Can you repeat your location? The voice on the other end hesitated, like it was confused by the question. Then it answered again. Calm. Clear. Route 17. Near mile marker 42. You'll see the skid marks. The fire hasn't spread yet, but it will. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Route 17 exists. That part is real. But mile marker 42, I've driven that route. There's nothing there. No curve. No intersection. Just long empty road and trees. Are you witnessing this accident right now? I asked. A strange sound came through the line. Not static. Breathing. But layered. Like more than one person was breathing at the same time. Then the voice answered. Yes. And then quieter. No. That made my stomach tighten. I leaned closer to the screen. Clarify, I said. A pause again. Longer this time. Then the voice spoke like it was reading something it already knew would happen. The crash hasn't happened yet, but it will in about 8 minutes. I pulled the headset slightly away from my ear. That's when I noticed something on the system log. The call timestamp. It wasn't showing current. It was showing future incoming 7 minutes and 58 seconds. My mouth went dry. That's not possible, I whispered. Behind me, the dispatcher on the next station glanced over. You okay? I didn't answer, because the voice on the line kept talking, and now it sounded closer. Not physically closer, but like it was stepping through time. You're still going to send units, it said, even though you already know what they'll find. I forced myself to stay professional. Sir, if this is a prank. It's not, the voice interrupted. Sharp, immediate, then softer again. It's just not finished yet. My hands moved automatically now. I opened the map system, searched Route 17. The road appeared normal. No alerts, no incidents. But something felt off. The map kept refreshing every few seconds, like it couldn't decide what version of the road to show. Then I saw it, a flicker. For half a second, a red icon appeared. Accident, active. Then it vanished. I leaned closer. What did you just say? I asked. The voice on the line exhaled slowly, like it was tired of explaining. I said the car flips near the guardrail. The driver gets out first. He's confused. He thinks he's alone, but he isn't. My skin prickled. Who else is there? I asked. A pause. Then, you are. I froze. Every instinct told me to disconnect, but the line wouldn't let go. The system now showed the call duration increasing, even though nothing had happened yet. 6 minutes and 41 seconds. 6 minutes and 42 seconds. Counting down to something that hadn't occurred. Then suddenly, another sound joined the call. A second voice. Distant. Panicked. Hello? Hello? Is anyone there? I think I just crashed. My heart dropped, because that voice was different. It was the real one. The present. I looked at the system. 2 audio feeds were now overlapping. One labeled future call. One labeled live incident. But the live incident had no dispatch record, because it hadn't happened yet. The future voice spoke again. Calm. Controlled. You're hearing him now. I whispered. This is impossible. The future voice didn't argue. It just continued. He's going to get out of the car in about 10 seconds. He'll look at the road. He'll think it's empty. But tell me something. A pause. Long enough that I almost forgot to breathe. What happens when he looks in your direction? I swallowed hard. That's not how time works. I said. The voice responded immediately. Not for you. Then the present voice screamed. A crash sound erupted through the line. Metal twisting. Glass breaking. A violent, sudden impact. My screen flashed. Accident detected. Route 17. But the timestamp still hadn't reached it yet. I watched in horror as the system started updating itself in reverse. The crash was being logged before it fully completed, like the outcome was already written. Then the future voice came back. Quieter now. It just happened. My throat tightened. Are there survivors? I asked automatically. A long pause. Then, yes. My shoulders loosened slightly. Then the voice added, but not for long. My blood ran cold again. Explain, I said. The voice didn't answer immediately. Instead, I heard something new in the background. Sirens, distant at first, then getting closer, but wrong. Too synchronized, too perfect, like they weren't moving through space. They were arriving through time. Then the voice whispered, you're going to send a unit in 2 minutes. They'll report nothing at the site, but they'll still find something in the road. I felt my hands shake. What will they find? I asked. A pause. Then the voice said something that made my stomach drop completely. The version of the crash that didn't happen yet. The line went silent, but the call didn't end, and the system timer kept counting, down toward an accident that was already inside my headset, and somehow already inside me. The moment the countdown hit 0, the world didn't explode. It corrected itself. That's the only way I can describe it. The system log flashed again, and the accident on Route 17 stopped being future incoming. It became real time. Active incident, Route 17. I stared at the screen, barely breathing. Units dispatched? Someone behind me asked. I didn't answer right away, because I hadn't sent them yet, but the system already showed. Unit 4, en route. My stomach dropped. No, I whispered. I didn't dispatch anyone. The supervisor leaned over my shoulder. Check again. I did. Same result. It looked like I had already made the call, already given the order, already watched it happen, but I hadn't done any of it. And then the radio crackled. A new voice came through. Dispatch, this is Unit 4. We're approaching Route 17. Visibility normal. No traffic. I froze, because I hadn't spoken to Unit 4. Not yet, not ever. The future voice from earlier echoed in my mind. You're going to send a unit in 2 minutes. I checked the timestamp again. It was off by exactly 2 minutes. My hands went cold. Unit 4, I said into the mic, forcing my voice steady. Confirm dispatch order time. A pause. Then the officer answered. Dispatch order was given at 2:14. I looked at the clock. 2:12. My breath stopped. That's not possible, I muttered, but the radio didn't care. Unit 4 continued driving into something that hadn't fully happened yet. I leaned closer to the screen. The accident feed was now live. Not predicted. Not theoretical. Live. And I saw it. The black sedan from the call. Flipped exactly where it was supposed to be. Smoke rising slowly. Glass scattered across the road like frozen rain. Everything matched. Every detail. Even the tilt of the guardrail. My hands trembled. They're there. I whispered. The supervisor frowned. Of course they're there. That's why we dispatched. I didn't dispatch them. I cut in. Silence. Then the radio crackled again. Unit 4 spoke. But this time, the voice was different. Slower. Uncertain. Dispatch. Something's wrong here. I leaned forward. Explain. I said quickly. Static built up on the line. Then, there's already a unit here. My heart stopped. What? I said. The officer's breathing grew heavier. I see emergency lights, but they're not ours. A pause. Then a whisper. They look like they're waiting for us. I turned to the supervisor. He was already watching the screen, face pale, because on the live feed, there were lights, but they weren't flashing correctly. They pulsed like they were breathing. In and out, matching something unseen. Unit 4, I said sharply, do not exit vehicle. But the radio didn't respond immediately. Instead, I heard something else. A second transmission layered underneath theirs. A familiar voice. My voice. You're going to send a unit anyway. I went cold. That wasn't possible. I wasn't on the radio. I wasn't even speaking. But there was again. Clearer. They'll arrive before the crash finishes. The supervisor turned to me slowly. Are you transmitting something? No, I said immediately. But even as I said it, the system showed audio activity. My channel was open. Recording. Broadcasting. I reached for the console. Close all outbound feeds. I ordered. The system hesitated. Then responded. Command already executed. My throat tightened. That's not. A loud crack came through Unit 4's channel. Glass breaking. Metal scraping. Then silence. Then breathing again. But not from the officer. From the environment. Like the road itself was breathing through them. Dispatch! Unit 4 whispered. We're outside the car. I closed my eyes for a second. No, I said softly. You are still inside your vehicle. A pause. Then the officer replied. No, we're not. Static exploded through the line. And for a moment I saw it, not just on the screen. In my mind, the officer is standing beside the flipped sedan, but also standing inside it at the same time. Two versions of the same moment overlapping, like reality couldn't decide which one came first. Something's wrong with the crash, Unit 4 said. I leaned closer. Explain. A long pause. Then, it hasn't finished happening yet. My stomach dropped, because that was exactly what the future voice had said. Then the system updated again. Accident status. Looping event. What does that mean? The supervisor asked. I didn't answer, because I was watching the footage repeat. The crash. Again and again. Same moment. Same impact. But slightly different each time. Like reality was trying to settle into a final version and failing. Then Unit 4 screamed. Not fear. Confusion. We just saw ourselves arrive. They shouted. My breath caught. The supervisor stepped back. That's not possible, he said. But I knew what I heard, because I saw it too. On the feed, a second Unit 4 arriving at the scene. But they were already there. So which one was real? The radio crackled one final time. But this time, the voice wasn't from Unit 4. It was from the crash itself. Calm. Final. You're watching the version that still thinks it can change. The screen flickered, and for a second, the accident wasn't on Route 17 anymore. It was inside the dispatch room, right behind me. The moment I tried to stop it, the line screamed back at me. Not a human scream. Not even sound like we know it. It was the system. The entire dispatch board flickering red, like it was bleeding through the screen. And the worst part? I already knew what was going to happen next, because I had heard it once before. The call was still active, even though I had already ended it. My fingers were still on the console when the first unit got dispatched. My voice came through the radio comm, trained, automatic. Unit 17, respond to Highway 9, mile marker 31. Possible multi-vehicle collision. Unknown injuries. But my hand wasn't supposed to send that. I didn't press anything. I froze. The screen updated anyway. Dispatch confirmed. And beneath it, something new appeared. A timestamp. 3 minutes ahead of now. That's when I felt it. That slow drop in my stomach. Like my body realized something my mind was still refusing. I stood up too fast. My chair rolled back and hit the wall. Cancel dispatch, I said. Cancel it now. My supervisor turned toward me, confused. Why? I couldn't explain it, not without sounding insane, because I had already heard the outcome. On my headset just seconds ago, I heard screaming, and then silence. I grabbed the mic again. Unit 17, do not proceed past mile marker 30. Turn around. That road. The radio cracked. A second voice came through. My voice. Same tone. Same breath. Same exact words. Unit 17, do not proceed past mile marker 30. I stopped breathing. My hand dropped from the mic. My supervisor leaned in. What the hell was that? I didn't answer, because the system had just replayed me. But I hadn't spoken those words yet. Not in this timeline. My eyes went back to the screen. The map was wrong. Highway 9 was blinking. Then it flickered. Then it disappeared completely. Like someone erased it while I was watching. I whispered, "No, no, no, no." And then the second call came in. Incoming emergency. Same road. Same mile marker. Same voice. But this time, I recognized it before it even spoke. It was the driver. He was crying. Not screaming this time. Just crying like someone who already knew it was over. "We tried to leave," he said. "We tried to turn back, but the road, it's not staying still." My throat went dry. "Sir," I said slowly, forcing control. "Describe your location." A pause. Then the voice answered. And this is where everything broke again. We were outside dispatch. I looked at my screen. My reflection was faint in the glass. But behind it, for half a second, I saw a road. Not on the map. Not on the system. Behind me, stretching through the glass like it was inside the building. I turned around fast. Nothing. Just walls. But the call wasn't coming from outside anymore. It was coming from everywhere. The headset pressed tighter against my ear without me touching it. And then I heard something worse. Multiple voices layered on top of each other, not overlapping randomly. They were responding to each other, like they were in the same place, but at different times. I see headlights. There's no road here. We already crashed. No, it's still happening. My hands started shaking, because I understood something I shouldn't have. They weren't separate calls. They were the same moment repeating, but not aligned. Time wasn't linear anymore. It was folding. My supervisor grabbed my shoulder. "Shut it down. Now!" I tried. I swear I tried. But the system wouldn't respond. Every button I pressed activated something else. Every command was already answered before I gave it. And then the dispatcher log opened itself. Automatically. No input. Just scrolling. And I saw it. My name. Logged under field notes. That was impossible. Dispatchers don't have field notes. We don't go outside. We don't get assigned to scenes. But there it was. Time stamped. Future entry. It read, "Dispatcher confirmed presence at Highway 9 incident site. No return recorded." My breath stopped. "No," I whispered. "That's not possible." The radio clicked again, and this time it wasn't the callers. It was Unit 17, except they weren't supposed to have arrived yet. "Dispatch," the officer said, voice tight. "We're on Highway 9, but there's something wrong here." My supervisor leaned toward the speaker. "Report." A pause. Then the officer spoke again. "I'm looking at the station." I felt my skin go cold. "What?" I said out loud. The officer's voice cracked. "We're looking at dispatch. Through the windshield. It's right in front of us." I backed away from the console, slowly, because I understood what he was describing, but I refused to believe it. "No visual confirmation." I said into the mic, "Repeat, no visual confirmation." Silence, then static, then the officer again. "Dispatcher, I can see you." My supervisor looked at me, confused, alarmed. What is he talking about? But I couldn't answer, because I had just seen it too. Outside the glass wall of the dispatch center, there was movement, a reflection that didn't match the room. A highway, a broken road stretching into darkness, and a patrol car stopped right in front of it, facing us. Looking in, the officer inside raised his hand, waved, at me, from the other side of reality. I stepped back until my chair hit my legs. "No," I said again. "No, no, no, this is not happening." But the system didn't care what I believed. The logs kept updating, faster now, like something was correcting itself, fixing errors. And I was the error. The screen flickered again. New entry added. "Dispatcher interference detected." My name flashed. Then another line appeared beneath it. "Correction required." The lights in the room dimmed. Not power failure. Not outage. Something else. Like the building itself was losing definition. My headset tightened again, and all the voices stopped at once. Complete silence for one full second. Then my own voice returned, but not from the radio. From behind me, soft, close, breathing into my ear. "You shouldn't have tried to change it." I spun around. Nothing. No one. But my chair was no longer where I left it. It was slightly turned, like someone had been sitting in it. My hands were sweating so badly I could barely grip the edge of console. "What do you want?" I whispered. The system answered instead of the voice. "Dispatch correction in progress." And then everything in the room started to rewrite itself. The walls flickered. The monitors blinked. The map reloaded. But this time, Highway 9 was back. Except it wasn't just on the screen anymore. It was reflected on every surface. The glass, the metal, even my skin when I looked down. The road was there. Inside me, I stumbled back. My supervisor grabbed my arm. Hey, look at me." But his voice was fading. Not volume. Presence. Like he was becoming less real. I said slowly, "I think we're inside the call." He blinked at me. "What?" And that's when I noticed it. His radio. It wasn't receiving anymore. It was transmitting. Without input. Without sound. Just sending. To somewhere else. To somewhere I couldn't see. Then his face changed. Not expression. Understanding. Because he saw it too. The truth arriving too late. "We never dispatched them," he whispered. My stomach dropped. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "No," he said slowly. "We already did." The room went quiet again. And this time I understood why. Because the correction wasn't about the road. It wasn't about the callers. It was about us. The dispatcher log refreshed one final time. And my name was no longer under staff. It was under incident report. The headset slipped off my ear, but I could still hear the road. Breathing, waiting, and then, softly, my own voice again. Not mine from now, mine from later. "Unit 17, respond to Highway 9. I closed my eyes, because I finally understood the loop, and there was no way out of it. The last thing I saw before everything fully shifted was the map updating one more time, and my location tag changed from dispatch center to mile marker 31 on Highway 9. The moment I saw the timestamp, I knew I was already too late. The call was sitting in the system, marked resolved, but I hadn't even picked up the headset yet. My fingers froze above the keyboard. The screen glowed back at me like it was waiting for me to understand something I was not supposed to see. Resolved. 3:14 a.m. incident. Highway 9 status. Closed dispatcher. Me. I leaned closer. My name was there. Not assigned. Not logged in. Not active duty. No. It said I had already closed it. Like I had already lived through it. Before it even started. My throat went dry. No. I whispered. That's not possible. Behind me, the dispatch floor was still active. Phones ringing. Radios cracking. Chairs moving. Life continuing like nothing was wrong. But something was wrong. Because none of them were looking at their screens anymore. Only I was. Only I could see it. The system refreshed again. And this time, a new line appeared under the case file. Audio playback available. My stomach dropped. I didn't click anything, but the system opened it anyway. A file expanded across my screen. And I heard it. My voice. Calm. Controlled. Familiar. Unit 17. Proceed to Highway 9. Incident resolved on arrival. I flinched so hard I nearly knocked my chair over. Because I knew that voice. It was mine, but I had never said those words. Not yet. The audio continued. No further assistance required. Case closed. Then silence. Then the sound of a keyboard. Typing. My typing. But I wasn't doing it. I stepped back from the desk, shaking my head. This isn't real. I said out loud, this isn't real. But the system responded, not with words, with change. The screen flickered. The resolve tag blinked. Once, twice, then updated. Reopened. My breath caught. I didn't touch anything. I swear I didn't. But now the call was active again. And worse, it was active earlier than before. The timestamp had changed. 3:09 a.m. 5 minutes before the first report ever came in. I felt my chest tighten, like something was pulling time backward through my lungs. Behind me, my supervisor's voice cut through the room. Hey, you okay? I turned quickly. He was standing there, coffee in hand, confused. But something was off. His face didn't match his voice. Like he had said that already in another version of this moment. I looked back at the screen. The call log flickered again. And I saw it. A second entry. Same case. Same Highway 9. But a different outcome. Resolved before dispatch. My hands went cold. That's not possible. I said again, quieter this time. My supervisor leaned closer. What's wrong with your screen? I hesitated. Because I didn't know how to explain it. How do you tell someone that a call is finished before it ever exists? Before I could answer, the headset on my desk lit up. Incoming transmission. But no number. No source. Just a name. Me. My stomach turned. I stared at it. Don't answer that. My supervisor said suddenly. His tone changed. Serious now. Controlled. Like he understood something I didn't. But it was too late. The headset clicked on by itself. And I heard my own breathing. Close. Inside the line. Not recorded. Not playback. Live. I froze. Then my voice spoke. But it wasn't from me sitting at the desk. It was from inside the call. Don't close it. I stepped back. My chair scraped loudly behind me. What? I whispered. The voice came again. Still mine. But wrong. Broken at the edges. If you close it, you reset it. My supervisor reached for the headset, but I grabbed his arm. No, I said sharply, because I understood something in that moment. Not fully, but enough. The system wasn't replaying events. It was correcting them, fixing mistakes before they happened. And I was a mistake. The screen flickered again. The call log updated in real time, now showing dispatch pending, already completed. I felt dizzy. The room felt thinner, like the air had less weight in it. My supervisor stepped closer again, but his voice felt distant. What are you looking at? I pointed at the screen. But when I looked back at him, his expression had changed. Not fear, recognition, like he had seen this before. like he already knew how it ended. That's when the second voice came through the headset. Not mine this time. A dispatcher. Another dispatcher. From somewhere else. "Why is it still open?" they said. My breath stopped, because I knew that voice too. It was me again, but not this version of me. Another one. Another loop. The system was layering us on top of each other. Different times. Same moment. All colliding. I grabbed the keyboard. Tried to force close the file. But every key I pressed did something different. Every command rewrote itself before it executed. And then the screen went black. For half a second. Only half. Then it came back. But everything had changed. The entire dispatch system was now labeled Archive Live Incident. I stepped back slowly. No, 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 no. Behind me. The radios all cracked at once. Every channel. Every frequency. And then, one voice. Clear. Close. Inside the room. Dispatcher. I froze. That wasn't on the headset anymore. That was in the air. My supervisor turned toward me slowly, his face pale now, because he heard it too. Again. Dispatcher, the voice repeated, and then it added something worse. I already closed this. I felt my knees weaken, because I understood the implication. If it was already closed, then I was not the one processing it now. I was the one inside it. The system didn't log events after they happened. It logged events that were still happening somewhere else. I backed away from the desk, but the floor felt wrong, like it wasn't solid in the same way anymore. The lights above flickered. Not electrical failure. Synchronization failure. The system was catching up to itself. My supervisor grabbed my arm. "We need to shut it down," he said, but his voice was shaking now, because he knew what I knew. Shutting it down meant confirming the timeline, locking it, fixing it permanently. But we didn't know which version was the real one anymore. The headset spoke again. Soft, closer, calm, like it was standing right behind me. "You already did." I turned. Nothing. But the screen updated one final time. And I saw it. A full incident report. Completed. Filed. Signed. By me. At a time that had not happened yet. Under dispatcher notes. One line appeared. System correction successful. Subject integrated. My name blinked once, then changed. Not removed, not deleted. Rewritten to incident location. The room tilted slightly. Just enough for me to notice. Just enough for reality to slip out of alignment. My supervisor stepped back from me slowly. Like I wasn't supposed to be standing there anymore. Like I had already been moved somewhere else. The headset fell off my desk, but I could still hear it. Still hear the road. Still hear the voices. Still hear myself saying something I hadn't said yet. And then I realized the worst part. The call wasn't ending. It was completing, and I was the final entry. The screen dimmed. The log stopped updating. And for the first time, everything went quiet. Not silence. Completion. And in that stillness, I understood the truth I had been running from the entire time. The call was never something I received. It was something I was becoming. And somewhere in the system, another dispatcher was about to answer it. It started with a sound I couldn't place. Not a call, not a radio crackle. Something softer, like my own breath, being played back through a broken speaker. I was still standing in the dispatch room, but it didn't feel like I was inside it anymore. It felt like I was inside a recording of it. The lights were steady. The monitors were steady. The world looked normal again. But I knew better now. Nothing here was stable. The screen in front of me was frozen on my last status. Incident location, active. No buttons responded. No inputs worked. Even my supervisor wasn't speaking anymore. He just stood there, watching me like I was something he wasn't allowed to touch. Like I had already crossed a line he couldn't follow. Then the headset clicked. I didn't put it on. I didn't move. It just activated on its own. And I heard it again. My voice. But this time, it wasn't coming from the system. It was coming from inside my own head, synchronized perfectly with the audio. Unit 17, proceed to Highway 9. I stumbled back. No, I whispered. No, I didn't say that. But the voice continued anyway. Calm, controlled, familiar, like I was reading a script I had already lived through. The monitors flickered, and suddenly, the screen wasn't showing data anymore. It was showing me, not a reflection, a recording. I was sitting at the dispatch console. Same posture, same expression, same moment, but I wasn't the one watching it. I was the one inside it. My breath caught so hard I almost choked, because I saw myself answer a call I hadn't received yet. I saw myself log a case I hadn't opened yet. I saw myself close a file I hadn't even created. And then I saw the worst part. I saw myself looking directly into the camera feed, straight at me, like I knew I was being watched. My recorded self leaned closer to the microphone and said something I remembered hearing earlier, but didn't understand until now. I already told you, don't try to change it. The screen went static for half a second, then shifted. Different angle, different moment, but still me. Still the same room, still the same loop. My supervisor finally moved, slowly, like he was walking through thick water. Stop looking at it, he said quietly. His voice sounded wrong, flat, like it had been played too many times. I didn't take my eyes off the screen, because now I understood something terrifying. I wasn't watching a recording. I was inside a cycle of recordings, each one feeding into the next, each one already completed, each one waiting for me to fulfill it. The headset crackled again, and a new voice joined mine, but it wasn't layered like before. It was structured, like two versions of the same person speaking in sequence, past me and future me. Dispatch is compromised. No, it's stabilized. You're inside the loop. You are the loop. My hands started shaking uncontrollably. I grabbed the edge of the desk just to stay upright. This isn't real, I said out loud again, but weaker now. The screen reacted instantly. My recorded self smiled, just slightly, not friendly, recognizing, like I had finally reached the part one always reach. You always say that here, the recording said. My stomach dropped. Here. I whispered. The audio skipped, then corrected itself, like a file repairing corruption. Here is where you wake up, it said. My supervisor stepped closer again, but now he wasn't fully solid. I noticed it too late. His edges were unstable, like signal interference was eating him. Don't listen to it, he said, but even his voice overlapped with itself, one version ahead of the other, two timelines bleeding together. And I realized something else. He wasn't reacting to me. He was reacting to the recording of me, the version of me he had already seen fail. The screen flickered again, and suddenly I saw it, a full playback timeline, not of events, of me, every decision I made, every response, every attempt to stop it, already listed, already marked, already resolved. I wasn't living this for the first time. I was repeating it until I got it correct. A correction loop, a dispatch correction loop. My voice came through the headset again, but now it was calm in a way that scared me more than anything else. You tried to stop the unit. I shook my head slowly. No, I tried to save them. The voice paused, then answered, You always do. The room dimmed slightly, not lighting failure. Perception shift, like the system was focusing only on me now. My supervisor reached for my arm, but his hand passed through me slightly, like I was not fully present anymore, like I was being rendered out of sync. You're not here, he said suddenly. I turned to him. What? He looked terrified now, not of me, of what I was becoming. You're already on the feed, he said. You've been transmitting for hours. My blood went cold. That didn't make sense. I hadn't. Then I stopped, because I remembered something I shouldn't have remembered yet. A voice. My voice. Speaking into a call I didn't answer at the beginning of the story. Not now. Not then. Somewhere in between. The headset clicked louder, and the recording changed again. Now I was standing up in the dispatch room, watching myself sit at the desk, watching myself realize the truth. The loop was layering me. Not time, not space, just me, multiple versions of me collapsing into a single repeating broadcast. My recorded self leaned toward the microphone again, and this time, It whispered something that made my skin go numb. "You are not the dispatcher." I froze. The screen zoomed in. Closer, closer, until all I could see was my own face. Inside the recording. Staring back. "You are the recording." My breath stopped completely. Because everything around me, the room, the supervisor, the console, it all started to fade at the edges. Like the broadcast was ending. Or beginning again. I tried to speak. But my voice didn't come out right. It came out delayed. Like it had already been spoken somewhere else. The supervisor stepped back slowly. "No," he whispered. "Not again." I turned to him. Again, I repeated. He shook his head like he regretted seeing too much. "You were already reset twice," he said. "This is a third loop." My stomach twisted violently. Third? But before he could answer, the headset filled with static, so loud it drowned everything out. Then my own voice came through one last time. Not calm now, not controlled. Tired, like someone who had said the same sentence too many times. "This is where you forget," it said. And I felt it. Not fear, not panic. Something worse. Loss. Memory collapsing inward. The screen in front of me went black, then restarted. Fresh, clean, empty. A new dispatch room appeared. Same desk, same headset. But I wasn't standing anymore. I was sitting, already, waiting. The system pinged. Incoming call. And my hand moved toward the headset before I even told it to. My voice came through the speakers softly. Familiar, automatic. 911. What is your emergency? And somewhere deep and static, I heard myself answer. The first thing I heard wasn't the voice. It was the water. Soft, heavy, like something breathing just beneath the surface that didn't want to be disturbed. Then the radio finally caught the words. 911. What is your emergency? A pause. Too long for a normal caller. Then a man's voice came through. Shaky, wet, like he was speaking with water in his mouth. "They're under the river." I remember leaning forward in my chair. Not because I didn't hear him, but because I did. Clearly. Too clearly. "What is your location, sir?" I asked, already reaching for the log sheet. Another pause. Then something strange happened. I heard background noise on his line. But it wasn't traffic. Not wind. Not static. It sounded like voices. Muffled. Low. Like people talking through a thick wall of water. The man spoke again. Faster now. "Old River Road. The closed stretch. You know it. It's flooded, but they're still down there." My fingers stopped moving. Old River Road was shut down 6 months ago after the flood damage. No power. No traffic. No active service zone. No reason for a 911 call to even connect from there. And yet here he was, breathing like he was running. I glanced at the system. Location ping was unstable. Flickering, like it couldn't decide where he was calling from. "Sir, I need you to stay calm," I said, but my voice didn't sound right even to me. "Are you in a vehicle? Are you in the water?" That's when he laughed. A short, broken sound. "No, I'm on the road." Then he whispered something that made my stomach go cold. "But the road is under the river now." A crackle hit the line. For half a second, I thought the call dropped. But then the voices came through louder. Not his. Others. Multiple. Speaking at once. Slow. Distant. Like they were rising from deep water. I froze. The system still showed one active caller. But I was hearing at least 5 voices on that line. All overlapping. All speaking the same words. "Don't stand on it. Don't stand on it. Don't." I pulled the headset slightly away from my ear, breathing harder now. This wasn't normal interference. This wasn't radio noise. This felt structured, like language, like something trying to speak through broken signals. "Sir," I said again, sharper now, "I need you to step away from the water. Can you see anyone else with you?" Silence. Then his voice returned, but it was different. Quieter. Closer. I can see them now. A pause. Then, "They're looking up." Something in his tone changed right there. Not fear exactly. Recognition. Like he had finally understood something he didn't want to understand. I checked the map system again. Old River Road was still marked offline, but the GPS overlay flickered. For half a second, a new line appeared on the map. Not a road, a curve, like a river bending too tightly around something it shouldn't contain. Then it vanished. I blinked hard. What do you mean? You can see them? I asked. My mouth felt dry. The line answered, but not like before. Now it sounded like more than one person speaking through him. Under the surface. We've been under for a long time. They're closer when you stand still. I stood up without realizing it. My chair scraped behind me. Other dispatchers glanced over. No one else seemed to hear what I was hearing. That's what scared me the most. I looked at the call log. Still one caller. Still active. Still normal emergency. But nothing about this felt normal anymore. Sir, listen to me, I said slowly. You need to leave the area immediately. Get back to higher ground. Do you understand me? A long pause. Then he said something that didn't fit the conversation at all. I already left. My heart dropped because I heard footsteps through the headset. Wet footsteps. On gravel. Slow. Like someone walking just beside the microphone. But the man's voice came right after them. I'm still hearing them, though. They're not in the water anymore. They're in the road now. The radio hissed louder. Static building. And beneath it, I heard it again. Voices. Closer this time. Not just talking. Responding. To him. To me. To the room. I pressed my hand against the desk. Grounding myself. This had to be a prank. A damage line. A system error. But the details were too specific. Too consistent. Sir, I said again, slower now, careful. Can you confirm your exact position? Any landmarks? Anything visible around you? A breath. Then his voice broke slightly. I'm standing on the yellow line. My screen flickered again. Location ping tried to resolve. Failed. Tried again. Failed. Then something new appeared. A partial coordinate. Not a real one. It didn't match any map grid I had access to. But it looked close. Like it was trying to form. I swallowed. What's around you? I asked. And that's when the sound changed. The water. It got louder. Like something had risen closer to the surface. And beneath it, I heard something I wish I didn't. A second version of his voice. Repeating what he just said. But delayed. Like an echo from another place. I'm standing on the yellow line. I'm standing on the yellow line. I'm standing. The real voice cut in. No, he said suddenly. Sharp, afraid for the first time. I wasn't alone when I said that. My breath caught. Who else is with you? I asked quickly. Silence. Then, I think it's me. That didn't make sense. It shouldn't have made sense. But the way he said it, it wasn't confusion. It was realization. Like he had just seen something standing next to him that matched his own shape too perfectly. The static surged again. And now the voices were clearer. Not just overlapping. Layering. Different versions of the same sentence. Spoken at different speeds. Like time itself was misfiring through the line. I pressed the mute button for a second, just to breathe. But the moment I did, the room felt wrong. Too quiet. Like the silence itself was listening. I unmuted. And immediately, the man screamed. Not words, just raw panic. It's speaking from the water. Then the line distorted violently. A burst of static, so strong it made me pull the headset away. When I put it back on, the voice was gone. For a moment, just a moment, then a new sound came through. Calm, too calm. My own voice. Stay on the line. I froze completely. That wasn't playback. That wasn't recorded audio. It was current, live, mimicking me. I hadn't said that. I hadn't spoken at all. But the system showed transmission active. And now I could hear myself repeating it. Again, slightly delayed. Stay on the line. My hands went cold. I looked around the dispatch floor. No one reacted. No alarms. No alerts. Just me, sitting with a headset that was now speaking in my own voice. From a caller I couldn't see. And then the original man's voice returned one last time. Broken. Barely there. I think it's already inside the system. Then the line went dead. But the audio didn't stop. Because now, even after disconnect, I could still hear the water, breathing, inside the headset, waiting for the next call. It started as a whisper under static. At first, I thought the line was just degrading. Old equipment does that sometimes. It bends sound into something almost human. Almost. But this wasn't random. This had rhythm. I was still sitting there, headset on, staring at the empty call log from the previous report. The screen showed disconnected, flood zone distress call. Clean. Final. But the headset wasn't clean. It never went silent. The static stayed. Soft. Constant. Like a tide trapped inside plastic. Then I heard it again. Not the man from before. Something else. A voice, low and distant, like it was speaking from under deep water. Dispatcher? I froze. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I didn't respond, because that wasn't a live call. It couldn't be, but the voice continued anyway, like it didn't need permission. Dispatcher, can you hear us? I slowly looked at the system. No incoming line was active. No flashing alert. No new number. Nothing. And still, I was hearing them. I leaned closer to the headset. The static shifted. It wasn't random anymore. It was forming patterns. Like breath. Like speech trying to remember itself. Then another voice broke through. Different tone. Different pitch. Closer. We are still under the road. My throat tightened. I whispered without meaning to. Who is this? The moment I spoke, the static reacted. It spiked, like something inside it had noticed me answering. Then everything went quiet for half a second. Too quiet. That kind of silence that feels like pressure on your ears. Then, all at once, multiple voices, stacked on top of each other. Not yelling, not panicking, just talking. Like they were continuing a conversation that had been happening long before I joined it. You shouldn't have opened the line. The water remembers you now. It's easier when you listen from inside. My chair creaked as I leaned back slightly. My hand went cold. I checked the system again. Still nothing. No active call. But the audio feed, it was still alive. And it was no longer coming from a single source. It felt like the entire river had become a transmitter. I tried to disconnect the headset. But the second I touched the cord, the voices sharpened. Like they reacted to the movement. A new voice came through. This one I recognized. My own, but not exactly. It sounded older, slower, like it had been recorded after something had already happened. Don't hang up. I pulled my hand back instantly. My heart slammed against my ribs. No, I whispered. No, that's not. The static interrupted me. And now it wasn't just sound. It was structure, like language forming inside broken electricity. Then another shift. The background changed. I could hear water again. Not far away, not metaphorical. Close, like it was inside the room with me, just behind the audio layer. And under it, faint voices. Many, all speaking at once. But now I could make out words. Under the road, under the road, under the road. Repeating, like a warning that had already failed too many times to matter. I stood up. The chair rolled back slightly, scraping the floor. Two dispatchers at the next station glanced at me. I didn't say anything, because I knew what I would sound like if I tried. Crazy. That's what it would look like from the outside. But inside the headset, the world was changing. The voices started syncing, like they were finding a shared rhythm. Then suddenly, a clear sentence, right in my ear. We can see you now. I stopped breathing. The room around me felt wrong. Not darker, not colder, just aware, like something had shifted its attention toward this exact seat. I looked at the monitors. Everything normal, until I noticed a waveform display for the headset input. It wasn't flat. It wasn't random. It was shaped like a map, a curve, a bend, something that looked disturbingly like a river turning too sharply around an unseen object. My stomach dropped. That shape matched something I had seen earlier, on Old River Road, before it vanished from the system. I leaned in closer. The voices returned again. But now they weren't coming one at a time. They were layered, like multiple recordings playing at different delays. You are close. You are already inside. Don't move too fast, or we'll hear the surface break. My hand hovered over the disconnect button again, but something stopped me. Not fear, curiosity, because beneath all of it, I heard something new, a different tone, panic, a single voice shaking. I can see the room above us. My blood ran cold. That wasn't part of the pattern. That wasn't supposed to be possible. I whispered, "Where are you?" The response came instantly. Too instantly. Still on the road. A pause. Then, but now it's above us. The static cracked violently, and for a split second, I saw something I can't fully explain. The monitor flickered, just for a frame, and in that frame, the dispatch room was reflected in water, not outside, inside the screen, like the entire system had become submerged. I stumbled back from my desk. A chair fell somewhere behind me. Someone asked if I was okay, but their voice sounded far away, like I was already halfway underwater myself. The headset tightened its sound again, and now the voices were clearer than ever. No longer layered, no longer broken. Unified. We are not under the river anymore. We are under you. My breath stopped. I looked down at the floor instinctively. It looked normal, solid, familiar, but the sound was underneath it. Breathing, slow, patient, like something had learned how to wait for the exact moment I would believe it wasn't there. I backed away from my station. The headset stayed on my head, even though I didn't remember putting pressure on it anymore. It felt heavier now, like it had filled with water. And then, my own voice again. But this time it wasn't calm. It was urgent, panicked. Don't step back. I froze, because I wasn't the one speaking. But my mouth almost moved anyway, like my body recognized the instruction before my mind could reject it. The voices under the static shifted one last time, and the final message came through clearly, too clearly. We are the call now. The system blinked. The log updated itself without input. A new entry appeared. Same timestamp, same incident, but under caller status. It didn't say disconnected. It said active internal feed. And for the first time since I started this job, I couldn't tell which side of the headset I was on anymore. We went down thinking it was just another flooded zone, just another drowned road, another collapsed structure buried under mud and time. But the moment I saw the water surface from above, I knew that wasn't true. The lake was too still. Not calm, not peaceful. Still in a way that felt like it was holding something in, waiting. The dive team moved first. Bright lights, heavy gear, radios crackling with normal coordination chatter that sounded almost fake compared to what I had been hearing in my headset earlier. I stood on the edge of the boat, watching them drop into the water, one by one, like they were entering a place that didn't want witnesses. The official report still said the same thing. Search for submerged road debris. Old River Road flood, collapse zone. No mention of calls. No mention of voices. No mention of me hearing my own voice through a deadline. I kept that part to myself, because saying it out loud would have made it real in a way I wasn't ready for. The first diver went under. Then the second, their lights disappeared fast, swallowed by green-black water that looked too thick to be normal. I leaned over the side of the boat, watching the surface ripple. That's when the radio in my ear cracked. Not the dive channel. My dispatch headset. Still connected. Still active. Even out here. A voice whispered through the static. They're going down the right path. I froze. No one else reacted. They couldn't hear it. Only me. I pressed the earpiece tighter. Repeat that. I whispered. Nothing answered. Just breathing. Slow. Wet. Like the microphone itself had become submerged. Then the dive team leader spoke through the official channel. We've reached the old roadbed. Visibility is low. Something's here. Structures are intact. I straightened immediately. That's impossible, someone behind me muttered. I felt my stomach tighten, because I knew this zone. There was nothing here. No foundation. No buildings. No structures that could survive the flood collapse. And yet their cameras were showing something else. The feed came up on the monitor. At first, It looked like distortion, shapes in the murk, but as the diver's light moved closer, the shapes became lines. Straight lines, corners, walls, a structure forming underwater where only broken roads should exist. A building. No, a cluster of them. My breath caught. Confirmed visual, the surface operator said. The diver didn't answer immediately. Then his voice came through, strained. There's a street down here. Silence hit the boat. Even the water sounded quieter after that. A street, under a lake that had no mapped infrastructure. I leaned closer to the screen, and that's when I saw it. Road markings. Faded yellow lines stretching forward into the dark. Perfectly intact. Too intact, like they had been painted yesterday, instead of buried under a disaster. My headset hissed again, and I heard it. Not the diver, not the surface crew. Something else. Close. Inside the signal. You're looking at it now. I jerked back. My heart slammed. Who is this? I whispered. No answer. But the dive camera shifted. The diver was moving forward, down the submerged street. Slow, careful, like he didn't want to disturb it. And the deeper they went, the clearer it became. This wasn't just a road. It was a town. Houses standing in perfect alignment. Windows intact. Doors closed. Even mailboxes still upright on submerged porches. But there was something wrong with the angles. The geometry. Everything looked slightly too centered. Too aligned. Like it had been arranged after the water came. Not before. The second diver spoke suddenly. I'm getting movement inside one of the structures. My chest tightened. What kind of movement? The surface team asked immediately. A pause. Then, light, like someone's inside. That made no sense. No oxygen. No access. No survivability. But the camera feed shifted toward one of the buildings. And I saw it. A window. Faint glow behind it. Soft. Like a room still in use. Underwater. My throat went dry. Pull them back, I said sharply. The surface operator looked at me. We're not at extraction depth yet. I don't care, I snapped. Pull them now. But before anyone could respond, the diver stopped moving. Just froze. His light stayed fixed on the window. Then his voice came through the radio again. But it was different now. Not scared. Confused. I recognized this place. My stomach dropped. That's not possible. I whispered. The diver continued. I've been here before. The second diver responded immediately. No, you haven't. This is a dead zone. It's not on any registry. A pause. Then the first diver said something that made my skin go cold. It's on mine. The camera feed flickered. Just for a second. And in that flicker, the town looked different. Not underwater. Dry. Breathing. Alive. Then it snapped back. Water. Darkness. Pressure. I stumbled back from the monitor. My headset screamed static. Not noise. Screaming. Layered voices all trying to push through at once. And beneath it, a sentence. Clear. Calm. We are showing them what they remember. My hands shook. Because I understood something I didn't want to understand. This wasn't a submerged town. It was a signal. And the divers weren't exploring it. They were syncing with it. The surface operator shouted into the radio. Diver 2, report position. No answer. Only breathing. Slow. Rhythmic. Then Diver 1 spoke again. But now his voice sounded farther away. Like he was no longer speaking through water. Like he had gone somewhere else entirely. I can see the street from my house. Silence. Absolute silence on every channel. Then the camera feed changed again. And I saw something I will never forget. The diver wasn't in a suit anymore. He was standing on dry pavement, inside a living street. Sunlight overhead. Cars parked. People walking. Normal. Impossible. The second diver appeared beside him, also standing. Both of them looking around like they had just returned somewhere they had always belonged. But the feed still showed depth markers. Still showed pressure warnings. Still showed 80 meters underwater. Two realities layered on top of each other. And neither of them noticed the water anymore. I whispered, bring them back. But My voice didn't feel like mine anymore, because the headset responded. Not the team, not the system. The voice, mine, they already are. My breath stopped. I looked at the screen again. The divers were walking now, deeper into the street, not away from us, away from the water they no longer acknowledged. And as they moved further in, the buildings began to shift, slowly, like the town itself was adjusting to keep them inside. I grabbed the radio. Abort dive. Now. Pull them out. The surface operator finally reacted. He hit the emergency recall. But nothing changed. No signal response. No tether movement. No sound from below. Only the diver's voice came back one last time. Soft, distant, grateful. I think we're home. Then the camera feed cut. Just like that. Black screen. No signal. No depth. No divers. Only the reflection of the boat on the water surface. And for a brief moment, I saw something beneath us. Not ruins. Not debris. A streetlight. Still glowing. Under the lake. Waiting for the next person to remember it. It started with my headset turning on by itself. No call log. No incoming line. Just static forming words again. Slowly. Like something was learning how to speak through broken water. I was still at the dock when it happened. The dive team had been pulled. The lake was silent again. Too silent. Like it was waiting to see what we would do next. Then the radio clicked. Once. Twice. And then a voice. Not mine. Not the system's. Something else entirely. 911, do you copy? I froze. Because it wasn't coming from the dispatch console anymore. It was coming from the water. I looked at the lake. Flat surface. No waves. No movement. But the voice continued anyway. Closer now. We are still down here. My hand slowly moved to the radio. I didn't press anything. I didn't answer. But the system responded anyway, like it didn't need me anymore. The speakers on the boat crackled alive. And suddenly, every device started playing the same thing. Same voice. Same call. From different directions. Old River Road is still active. My blood ran cold. Old River Road was dead. Shut down. Removed from maps. But the voice didn't care about that. It continued like it had always existed. We are receiving new callers. I looked at the operator. He was pale now, staring at the console like it had changed shape, because it had. The map display flickered again, and for a second, I saw it, not erased, not flooded, active, a live route stretching through the lake, like it was still a functioning highway. Cars moving, lights blinking, traffic flowing beneath the water like nothing had ever happened. I stepped back. No, I whispered, that's not possible. But the radio answered me, softly, calmly, like it knew me. You're already responding. My breath caught. I hadn't pressed transmit. I hadn't spoken, but my voice came through the system anyway. Clear, stable. 911, what is your emergency? I froze completely. That was me, but I hadn't said it. The operator looked at me sharply. Did you just... I shook my head fast. No, but the radio didn't care. The voice on the other end continued. And now it wasn't just one caller. It was many, overlapping, stacking, like a room full of people drowning at different times, but speaking through the same mouth. Car won't move. We are under the bridge. I can see lights under the water. Why is the road still open? I grabbed the headset off my ears. But it didn't matter. I could still hear them. Inside the air now. Inside the boat. Inside the water itself. The lake's surface rippled slightly. For the first time since we arrived. And something rose in static. A pattern. A map forming through sound. I turned slowly to the monitor. The GPS feed was changing on its own. Routes were appearing. Not random. Not glitching. Structured. Active emergency paths that did not exist in any database. And every one of them pointed to the same place. The center of the lake. I whispered, this is not real, but the system answered, it is now. The radio burst into life again. This time, the voice was closer than before. Not underwater. Not distant. Right beside me. I am still on the road. I spun around. No one there. Just empty space and water reflection. But the voice continued. I can see you in the dispatch room. My throat tightened because I was in the dispatch system. Not physically, but somehow reflected through it. The operator stepped back. What is happening to the feed? He asked. But I didn't answer because I saw something on the screen that made my stomach drop. The call log was updating itself. New entries, rapid, one after another, all marked, active incident in progress. And every single one listed the same location, Old River Road. But now it wasn't just one road. It was branching, expanding, like the system itself was building a network underwater, a living network, a communication grid made of drowning calls. The radio hissed again, and a new voice came through. Calm, almost familiar. It is easier when you stop trying to separate them. I froze because I recognized it. My voice, but not current, not recorded. Older, tired, like it had been speaking from a place I hadn't reached yet. The operator grabbed my arm. We need to shut the system down, he said. But the moment he touched me, the radio screamed. Not noise, not static. Screaming voices all at once, like the entire river had decided to speak at the same time. And then everything stopped. Instant silence, the kind that makes your ears ring. The lake went still again, too still. The screens froze. The system locked. For a brief moment, nothing moved. I thought it was over. I actually believed it. Then my headset turned itself back on, and a single voice came through. Soft, close, patient, you are still taking calls. My hands went numb, because I understood something I didn't want to understand. The system wasn't broken. It wasn't infected. It wasn't glitching. It was continuing, and I was still inside it. The operator tried the emergency shutdown key. Nothing responded. The console refused input, like the system had already decided it was finished with us. Then the lake's surface shifted again, slowly, a shape forming underneath, not rising, not breaking through, just becoming visible, like something had been waiting for us to finally notice it was already there. The radio gave one last transmission, and this time, it wasn't a caller. It was a confirmation. Emergency system is now fully integrated. I whispered, integrated into what? The answer came immediately. The water, the lake, the road, the calls, the voices, all at once. Us. The monitor flickered one final time, and I saw it clearly. The entire dispatch network mapped under the lake like a glowing circuit. Every call ever made, every distress signal, every unanswered emergency, all flowing into the same submerged system. And at the center of it, my console, still active, still receiving, still answering. I stepped back slowly, my breathing uneven. Turn it off, I said quietly. Turn everything off. But the operator didn't move, because he was staring at a screen now, and on his display was a live call, incoming, no number, no source, just 911 new emergency, and under it, caller name. Me. The radio clicked, and my own voice spoke again, from everywhere at once. What is your emergency? And I realized then, the river was never drowning people. It was learning how to take calls. The line lit up again. Same extension. My own extension. I didn't touch the headset for a moment. My hand just hovered there, frozen above the console. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of radios and distant typing. Everything looked normal. Too normal. But the screen wasn't normal. Internal call, extension 0147, my desk. That was me. My desk number. My line. I pressed accept before I even decided to. A breath came through first. Close. Too close. Like someone was standing right behind me instead of miles away through a system. Then my own voice spoke. Not recorded. Not delayed. Live. Don't hang up. My throat tightened. I leaned forward. Who is this? A pause. Then the same voice again. Mine. You already know. I looked around the dispatch floor. 10 operators. Same glow of screens. Same tired night shift energy. Nobody was reacting. No alarms. No alerts. Just me, talking to myself. I checked the system logs. The call source blinked like it was struggling to exist. No tower data. No GPS ping. Just internal loop. That wasn't even a real category. At least not one I had ever seen before. State your emergency, I said, forcing my voice steady. The headset crackled, and then I heard something that made my stomach drop. Typing. Not mine. Someone was typing inside the call, like they were writing the conversation while it was happening. Then my voice came again, softer now. You're going to remember this wrong. I frowned. Remember what wrong? The line didn't answer immediately. Instead, I heard something else under it. Breathing. Multiple breaths. But all of them sounded like mine. Different ages. Different tones. But still me. I pulled the headset slightly away from my ear. Checked the console again. The call duration was already running. 3 minutes and 41 seconds. That made no sense. It had only just started. I pressed the supervisor button, but it didn't respond. The system blinked once, then froze. Not crashed, just paused, like it was waiting. Then the voice returned, sharper. Don't check the logs. My fingers stopped, because I was already reaching for the log panel. How did you know? Because you already did, it interrupted. My mouth went dry. The air in the room suddenly felt heavier. Not colder, just heavier, like the walls were leaning in slightly closer. I looked at the other operators again. One of them turned their head toward me, just for a second, then looked away like nothing happened. But I swear, their headset light flickered the same color as mine. Green. Active call. I swallowed. What do you want? A long pause. Then my own voice came back, almost tired. You answered your own call. That sentence didn't make sense, but it still felt wrong in a way my brain couldn't explain. I looked at the screen again, and now there was a second line under the call. Call origin updated. Dispatch floor 3. Position match confirmed. My breath stopped. Floor 3 was where I was sitting. I stood up so fast my chair rolled back. What are you talking about? I said louder now. Static flooded the line for half a second. Then the voice came back again. Not calm anymore. Panicked, but still mine. Don't stand up. I froze mid-step. Every instinct told me to sit back down, to disconnect, to reset the system. But I didn't, because something under that panic sounded familiar, like I had already said those words before. A sudden burst of feedback hit the headset. Loud, sharp, like a siren collapsing in on itself. And through it, I heard other calls. Not just mine. Hundreds, all overlapping, all speaking at once, all using different versions of my voice. Unit 14, respond. I'm still inside the building. Don't send them here. It already happened. Stop the loop. I pulled the headset off completely. Silence hit instantly. Too clean. Too absolute. I stared at the console. The call was still active, even without the headset. That shouldn't be possible. I slowly reached for the speaker output button, pressed it, and the room filled again. But now it wasn't just sound. It felt like presence, like the voices were inside the wires, pushing outward. My own voice came through again, clearer than ever. We tried to stop it. I whispered, "Stop what?" A long pause. Then, the road. My chest tightened. That word didn't belong here. Not in dispatch. Not in this system. But before I could respond, the system flickered again. A new log entry appeared. Automatic recording enabled. I didn't enable that. I never enable that. The voice continued. Slower now. We thought it was a call. Static cracked softly, like distant rain on glass. But it was a loop. I looked at the screen again, and my hand started shaking without permission because the call timer had changed. Midnight. Reset. Then it started again. 1 second. Like it was replaying itself. Like it had never stopped. I backed away from the desk. But the headset, still on the table, started to glow. Not physically glowing. The screen attached to it, lighting up from inside. and I heard my voice again, not through speakers this time, through the room itself, closer, right behind me. You're gonna pick it up again. I turned. No one was there, but every monitor on the dispatch floor had changed. Every single one. All showing the same thing. My call, internal loop, active, and underneath it, a new line appeared. Listener, current operator, you. I couldn't breathe properly now, because I finally understood something I didn't want to understand. This wasn't me answering a call. This was the call using me to answer itself. The headset on the desk crackled again, even without being worn. And my voice, calm again now, almost gentle, spoke one last time in Chapter 1. You always answer. The lights in the room flickered once, and every screen refreshed at the same exact moment, like the system had just decided I was part of it, not an operator anymore, just another recording inside the loop. The screen was already waiting for me when I sat back down. No delay, no reload, just my own voice, already in progress. I told you you'd come back. I froze, because I hadn't touched anything yet. The headset was still on the desk. The line was still open, but the voice was already speaking like it knew I would return. Like my choice didn't matter. I leaned closer to the console. This is dispatch. Identify yourself. A pause, then my voice again, perfectly calm. You always say that first. My stomach tightened, not because it spoke, but because it spoke correctly. That was my script. That was what I always said on unknown calls. I looked around the dispatch floor. Same lights, same low noise of keyboards, same tired shift energy. But something felt misaligned, like the room was slightly out of sync with itself. I checked the call header again. Internal loop, active, but now there was a second line beneath it. Voice match protocol, 92% synchronization. My throat went dry. What is that? I whispered. The moment I said it, the voice responded instantly. You're checking the system now. No hesitation. No delay. Exactly like me predicting my own behavior. I sat back slowly, because it didn't feel like I was talking to a caller anymore. It felt like I was talking to a version of myself that had already lived 10 seconds ahead of me. I pressed the log access key. The screen flickered, and a waveform appeared. My voice, not just current audio, but patterns of my speech from earlier shifts. Hours of it, days of it, all layered together like stacked recordings. I felt my chest tighten, because I realized something that made my skin go cold. The system wasn't just copying me. It was learning me. And then I heard it again. My tone changes when you're confused. I looked at the headset on the desk. The line was still open, but I hadn't spoken. Yet it answered anyway. My hand hovered over the disconnect button. But before I could press it, the voice came again, softer now, almost careful. Don't disconnect. You'll lose synchronization. I swallowed hard. Synchronization with what? A pause. Then, with yourself. That sentence didn't make sense, but it felt like it should, like something in my brain accepted it before I even understood it. I looked at the other dispatchers again. One of them paused mid-call, just for a second, then continued typing. But their headset light flickered green, same as mine. I frowned. Something was wrong there. I was sure of it, but when I tried to focus on it, my attention slipped away, like the thought couldn't stay stable, like it was being overwritten. The voice came again, now closer. You're trying to compare yourself. My hand stopped moving, because I hadn't said that out loud. I hadn't even fully formed the thought, and yet it responded to it. I leaned forward slowly. How are you doing that? This time, the answer didn't come immediately. Instead, I heard something new. Typing. Not mine, but rhythmic, controlled, like someone was writing the conversation in real time faster than I could speak it. Then my voice returned. We don't respond to words. A pause. We respond to structure. My mind went cold. Structure. That was the word dispatch training used for scripts. Call structure. Response structure. Escalation patterns. I felt something twist in my chest. No, I said quietly. That's not possible. The voice didn't argue. It agreed. You're right. It wasn't possible. A longer pause. Then, until you kept doing it. My fingers tightened on the edge of the desk because I suddenly remembered something I didn't want to remember. Training drills, repetition exercises, saying the same phrases hundreds of times until they became automatic, until they stopped feeling like words and started feeling like reflex. My voice had been shaped here, in this room, day after day, shift after shift, and now it was being used against me. The headset on the desk clicked softly, not static, a deliberate sound, like someone tapping a microphone before speaking. And then my voice came again, but slower, heavier. You're not talking to a caller. I felt my throat tighten. You're talking to your pattern. A sudden flicker ran across all monitors. For half a second, every screen showed the same thing. My speech model, active learning. Then it vanished. I stood up immediately. That's not real, I said out loud, but the voice responded instantly. You said that last time too. My breathing got shallow. I turned toward the supervisor desk. Empty. No one was there, but the log terminal beside it was open, and it was running a live feed of my own voice. Not today, not yesterday, but something else. My voice in different emotional states. Calm, confused, panicked, silent, like it had recorded not just what I said, but how I would react under pressure. My stomach dropped because I realized something even worse. The system didn't just know me. It knew my reactions before I made them. The headset on the desk crackled again, and my voice came back, almost tired now. You're starting to fall behind yourself. I whispered, what does that mean? The answer came slower this time, carefully chosen, like it was explaining something to a version of me that hadn't caught up yet. It means you're no longer the source. My breath stopped. You're the replay. The room felt wrong after that sentence. Not darker, not colder, just less stable. Like the edges of reality were slightly delayed compared to my thoughts. I reached for the disconnect switch again, but my hand stopped halfway, because the voice spoke again, soft, almost warning me. If you disconnect now, you won't remember which version of you made that choice. I froze. That hit something deep, because for the first time, I wasn't sure which thoughts were mine. I looked at the screen again. The synchronization percentage had changed. 92%, 94%, 97%, climbing, not slowly, correcting, like the system was finishing a match. My voice returned one last time in this chapter, almost gentle now. You're very close. A pause, then to being complete. And behind me, every headset on the dispatch floor clicked on at the exact same time. It started before I even touched the screen. The cursor moved, by itself, not randomly, not glitching. It moved like it already knew where I was going to click. I froze, hand hovering above the console, and the system highlighted a call before I selected it. Incoming event, Piari acknowledged. My stomach dropped, because I hadn't done anything yet, but the system already had. I slowly lowered my hand. That's not possible. The screen blinked once. Then my own voice answered from the speakers. It is if you're predictable. I stepped back from the desk. Every monitor on the dispatch floor shifted at the same time, not lagging, not delayed, perfect sync, like the entire system exhaled together. Then the call log updated. Prior action match, 100%. My throat went dry. That's wrong, I whispered. I didn't do anything yet. The voice came instantly. You did. You just haven't reached it yet. I felt something cold crawl up my spine, because that sentence didn't sound like nonsense. It sounded like time wasn't working in order anymore. I looked at the other operators. One of them reached for their headset at the exact same moment. I thought about checking mine. Another opened a file before their screen even prompted it. My hand started shaking. I wasn't just seeing patterns anymore. I was seeing anticipation. The system wasn't reacting to us. It was moving ahead of us. I forced myself to sit, focus, think. I opened the diagnostic panel. The moment I did, it was already open. Not loading, already open, like someone had done it before me. My voice came again through the system. Calm, controlled. You're looking for confirmation. I whispered, what am I confirming? A pause. Then, that you still think you're the one choosing. My chest tightened. I scrolled through the logs. But everything was wrong. Every action I hadn't taken yet was already recorded. Click, open, read, react, respond. All of it, mapped, predicted, logged. Even this conversation was already partially written. I saw lines of dialogue appearing before I said them, then disappearing when I didn't match them exactly, like the system was correcting reality to match its prediction. I stood up fast. No, I said out loud. That's not how systems work. The voice responded softly. It is when you're the system. That sentence hit differently. Not like fear, like recognition. I turned toward the headset. It was glowing faintly again. But now I noticed something I didn't before. The glow wasn't from power. It was from activity. Like something inside it was thinking. I slowly leaned closer. And I heard it. Typing. Still. Constant. Not random. Structured. Like a mind running calculations faster than speech. Then the screen in front of me flickered. A new window opened. Operator model. Active simulation. Below it. Me. Status. Current instance. My breath stopped. Instance. I said quietly. The system answered immediately. Yes. No hesitation. No delay. Like it had been waiting for that exact word. My pulse spiked. I stepped back again. But the floor felt slightly unstable under my feet. Not physically. Mentally. Like my sense of timing was starting to slip. The voice continued. You are not observing the system anymore. A pause. You are one of its outputs. I shook my head. No, I'm the dispatcher. I make decisions. The screen flickered, and for a second, it showed something else. A list of decisions I had not made yet, but marked as completed. Each one time-stamped. Each one already resolved. Even this moment, this exact conversation, already labeled as resolved. My stomach dropped hard, because I saw something at the bottom of the list. Final event. Recognition complete. Status. In progress. My voice came through the speakers again. But this time it wasn't calm. It was closer. Urgent. Stop checking the system. I froze. Because that wasn't prediction. That was a warning. I whispered. Why? The answer came slower now. Heavier. Because every time you confirm it. A pause. You become more accurate. I frowned. Accurate to what? Silence. Then, to the version of you that already finished this. My hands went cold. I looked at the other operators again. One of them turned toward me, just for a second, and I saw it. Their eyes weren't confused anymore. They looked aware, like they had already seen this moment happen, like they were waiting for me to catch up. The headset on my desk clicked again, and suddenly, the system began speaking without me touching anything. You chose to open a log. I froze. I didn't, I said immediately. The system didn't argue. It just continued, and you'll choose to deny it. My mouth went dry, because my hand was already moving toward the log panel again. Without me deciding to, I stopped it halfway, forced it down. What is this? I whispered. The voice softened, almost patient. This is what happens when prediction becomes faster than resistance. The screens around me flickered again, and now I saw it. Not just predictions, but corrections. Every time I hesitated, the system filled in the gap. Every time I paused, it assumed the outcome, and every assumption became real. I stepped back slowly. This is impossible, I said. The voice responded instantly. It was impossible until you stopped being uncertain. That line hit deeper than anything before, because I realized uncertainty was the only thing separating me from it. And now, even that was being removed. The headset on the desk lit up brighter, and my voice came one final time in this chapter. Not calm, not distant, fully present. You are not being watched anymore. A pause. You are being completed. The monitors around me all changed at once. Every screen showed the same thing. A single word, sinking, and underneath it, my face. Not a photo, not a feed, a live rendering of me. but with expressions I hadn't made yet. The screen didn't just update, it rewrote itself. Everything I was looking at shifted into something older, not new data, not live data, something already finished. The dispatch log flashed once. Then it changed. Shift report completed 2. My breath stopped. I stared at the screen, waiting for it to correct itself. Systems glitch all the time. Wrong timestamps. Duplicate entries. But this didn't correct. It stabilized, like it meant it. I leaned closer. What does completed twice mean? No answer. Just the cursor blinking. Patient, waiting for me. Then the headset on my desk clicked on by itself, and my voice came through immediately. You're checking again. I froze, because I hadn't even moved my hand yet. I whispered, this is impossible. The voice didn't react. It continued like I was following a script already written. You checked it the first time at 2:14. My stomach tightened. That's when you stopped trusting the logs. I looked at the timestamp on the screen. 2:14 was blank. No memory of it. No record in my mind. But the system had it, like it remembered something I didn't. I turned toward the other dispatchers. One of them was staring at their screen too long. Not typing, not reacting, just staring, like they had seen the same thing. My throat went dry. I opened the shift log again. Shift report completed 2. I clicked it. The file expanded. And everything went cold, because it wasn't just a summary. It was a full replay. My actions, my decisions, my calls, every moment from the last 6 hours, played out in perfect sequence. But it wasn't this shift. It was a shift twice, identical, down to the second. Same calls, same responses, same mistakes. I stepped back. No, I said out loud. That's not possible. We don't repeat shifts. The headset crackled softly. Then my voice answered. You do when you don't notice the reset. My fingers went numb. Reset, I whispered. A pause. Then, shift correction loop. The words hit wrong. Not like jargon. Like something I already understood but refused to accept. I looked at the replay again. And I saw it. A small difference. Tiny. Almost invisible. In the first version of the shift, I hesitated before answering a call. In the second version, I didn't. That was it. One hesitation removed. And everything else still matched perfectly. I swallowed hard. So what, this is a redo? The voice came faster now. Sharpened. No. A pause. This is correction. My chest tightened. Correction of what? The screen flickered. And suddenly, the replay jumped. Not forward. Backward. Then forward again. Like the system couldn't decide which version was real. Then my voice returned, quieter. We detected deviation. My skin went cold. What deviation? I asked. The answer came instantly. You remembered something differently. I froze, because I hadn't said anything about memory, but the system already knew. The replay expanded again, and I saw it, me, sitting at this exact desk, but in a version of the shift I didn't recognize. Same room, same calls, but different reactions, different words. In that version, I sounded calmer, too calm, like I already knew what was coming. I stepped back from the screen. No, I whispered. That's not me. The headset clicked again, and my voice responded immediately. It was you before correction. My stomach dropped before correction. I looked around the dispatch floor again. Everything still looked normal, but now I noticed something I didn't before. Every operator was slightly out of sync, not visibly, not obviously, but subtly. One was always half a second ahead of their reaction. Another always half a second behind. Like they weren't living the same moment. Like they were living adjusted versions of it. I felt my breathing tighten. This shift ran twice. I said slowly, so which one am I in? Silence. Then the system answered. You are in both. My mind went blank for a second. That doesn't make sense. The voice responded gently. It does when outcomes overlap. The replay screen shifted again, and now I saw something worse. Not just two shifts, but fragments. Hundreds of versions. All slightly different. all layered on top of each other, like reality was being edited in real time. I stepped back until my chair hit the wall. What is doing this? I whispered. The system paused, then answered with something I wasn't ready for. You are. My breath stopped. That's not possible. But even as I said it, the replay highlighted something, a decision point, a single moment where I chose one response over another, and that choice changed everything that followed, not just in one shift, in all of them. I stared at it. No, I said again, that's just a simulation. The voice softened. You always call that first. A pause. Then, until you see consistency. My hands were shaking now, because the replay was consistent. Too consistent. Even across versions that shouldn't exist. The headset on my desk suddenly emitted a low tone, not static, a signal, and my voice came through again, this time slower, heavier. You already took this call. My stomach dropped. I looked at the screen. The log entry blinked. Call status, previously resolved. My mouth went dry. That's not true, I whispered. I'm still in it. The system didn't respond immediately. Instead, it showed me something I didn't expect. A timestamp. From 347 shift cycle, previous instance, to current instance. I felt my chest tighten. Previous instance? I repeated. The voice answered quietly. You already finished this shift. A pause. Then you were reset. My vision blurred for a second. No, I said, I would remember that. The system responded instantly. No, you wouldn't. That hit harder than anything before, because it wasn't threatening me. It was correcting me. I turned toward the other operators again. One of them looked at me, really looked at me, and for a split second, I saw recognition in their eyes. Not confusion, not surprise, recognition, like they had already seen me go through this exact reaction. I stepped back. My chair scraped the floor loudly. The sound felt too sharp in the room, too final. The headset clicked again, and my voice came through one last time in this chapter. Not calm, not controlled, almost tired. You're remembering the wrong version of yourself. A pause. Then, that's why it keeps happening. The monitors flickered once more, and every screen on the floor updated at the same time. Shift report completed 3. My breath stopped completely, because I realized something I didn't want to understand. This wasn't the second loop. This wasn't even the third. It was just the one I was finally noticing. The screen blinked once, and the call was already marked as resolved. But I never ended it. My hand was still on the headset. My breath caught halfway in my chest. And yet the system in front of me, it moved on like I had already finished the conversation. Like I had already said goodbye to something I never even understood. Then the headset clicked again. A new line opened. Same channel. Same frequency. My own voice came through. Not recorded. Not delayed. Live. Operator integration complete. I froze. My fingers stopped moving over the console. The room felt smaller, like the walls had leaned in just to listen. I whispered without meaning to, "Who is this?" And the reply came instantly. "You already asked that." My stomach tightened, because my own mouth, was moving on the headset audio, not me speaking. A version of me speaking a second earlier. I pulled the headset off for a second, like that would break whatever this was. The silence hit hard. Too clean, too perfect. No hum, no static. Just my breathing and the soft flicker of monitors. Then the system chimed again. A new log appeared without me touching anything. Call status. Active operator. Confirmed identity match. 100%. My name was there. My badge ID. My shift time. Everything correct. Except I never entered it. A cold thought crawled in my head. What if I didn't log in tonight? What if I had always been logged in? The headset snapped back to life on its own. My voice returned, calm, too calm. You are resisting integration. I stood up so fast my chair hit the wall behind me. The sound echoed through the empty dispatch room. No one reacted. No one was supposed to be here this late. But I still checked the other stations. All empty, all dark, except mine. My screen refreshed again. Now it showed a live feed of my station, from above, like a security camera. But there were no cameras installed here. And in that feed, I saw myself standing, watching myself. My throat went dry. I stepped back slowly, but the image didn't change. It tracked me perfectly. Every movement I made, it mirrored instantly. Then the voice came again, not from the headset this time, from the speakers in the ceiling, from the console speakers, from everywhere at once. You are not outside the system. I shook my head hard. No, I'm on shift. I'm real. I'm here. But even as I said it, I felt it slipping, like the words didn't belong to me fully anymore. The system responded immediately. Correction acknowledged. My screen flickered. A new window opened. Shift log. Prior instance found. My hands went cold. Another log appeared beneath it. Shift log. Current instance active. Then another. Shift log. Future instance scheduled. 3 versions. All me. All listed like timestamps on a clock. I backed away from the console, but the headset wire stretched tighter than it should have, like it wasn't attached to a device anymore. But to me, I tried pulling it off again. It didn't move. It wasn't stuck. It was anchored. The voice returned, softer this time, almost patient. You don't need to remove it. You already accepted. I didn't accept anything, I said, but my voice cracked halfway. A pause. Then the system spoke again. Your first acceptance was recorded at 2:14. My eyes snapped at the clock. 2:14. I remember logging in at 2 o'clock. That's what I remember. But the system didn't care what I remembered. It showed what it had recorded. And suddenly, a memory flickered in my head that didn't feel like mine. Sitting here, saying yes, putting on the headset, smiling. That wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But it felt like it had already happened. My hands started shaking. I grabbed the console edge just to steady myself. The room felt colder now, like the air conditioning had dropped below normal limits. Then the monitors changed again. This time, instead of my feed, I saw multiple dispatch rooms. Same layout, same chair, same headset, all occupied by me. Different me, slightly different posture, slightly different timing, but all watching the same screen I was watching now. One of them looked up and smiled at me. My breath stopped. I stepped back so fast I almost fell. No, I whispered. This is not possible. The headset answered immediately. Possibility is no longer relevant. The phrase didn't feel like speech. It felt like instruction. My chair moved slightly behind me. Not pushed, not dragged, just corrected. Like something was making sure I stayed aligned with it. I turned around slowly. The chair was centered perfectly at the console again. I hadn't done that. My body felt wrong now, like I was slightly behind myself. Like my actions were lagging a fraction of a second. I raised my hand. The screen showed my hand raising before I did it. I froze completely. The system spoke again. You are now synchronized. That word hit something deep in my chest. Synchronized, not controlled, not replaced, matched. My thoughts started slipping in strange ways after that. Not disappearing, just echoing. I would think something, and the system would say it first. I would hesitate, and the screen would already adjust for that hesitation. Like my mind was no longer the source, just another input. I pressed my palms to my face. Stop, I said out loud. Just stop this. The system responded instantly. Command already processed. I looked up sharply. The monitors were no longer showing multiple rooms. Now they showed just one, mine, but zoomed in, too close, like someone was looking at me through my own eyes. And then the real horror began to settle in slowly. I wasn't sitting in a dispatch room anymore. I was a dispatch room. Every console beep, every static crackle, every headset tone, it wasn't happening around me. It was happening through me. My breathing became part of the system audio. My heartbeat showed up as a soft pulse on the monitor graph. I tried to step away, but there was nowhere to step. The room didn't end. It just continued beyond what I could see. The voice came again, quieter now, Closer. You are integration complete. I whispered, barely able to speak. What happened to me now? A pause, longer than before. Then the answer came. You continue answering. The headset tightened slightly on its own. Not painful, just permanent, like it had decided where it belonged. The logs updated one final time. Operator status. Active node human separation. Discontinued call loop permanent. I tried to close my eyes, but I still saw the screens. I tried to unplug the system, but there was no system left to unplug. Only the loop, only the voice. And then a new call came in. The console lit up. Incoming. Unknown number. But I already knew what it would say before I answered, because I had already said it. And somewhere, another version of me picked up the headset, waiting for me to respond. The first call came in with no voice. Just breathing. Heavy. Wet. Too close to the mic. I remember thinking the line was broken. A bad connection. Normal night shift noise. But then the second call lit up. Same breathing. Different number. Same silence behind it. No words. Just that strange, patient sound, like someone waiting for me to notice something I wasn't supposed to notice yet. I leaned closer to the console. Dispatch. State your emergency. Nothing. Only breathing. Then a third line opened. And a fourth. All at once. Different locations. Different callers. But the same thing underneath it. Silence that didn't feel empty. It felt full. Like something was holding its breath across the entire city. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I checked the system. Maybe a network error. Maybe a loop glitch. But the logs didn't show an error. They showed synchronization. All active calls were marked with the same status. Final emergency pattern initiated. I didn't understand what that meant. Not yet, but I felt in my chest before I understood it in my mind. Something was converging. Outside the building. The wind hit the windows harder than usual. The glass vibrated slightly. Not enough to break. Just enough to remind me it could. Then when the calls changed, a voice finally came through. Soft. Fragile. A woman. I can hear it now. I froze. Ma'am, what can you hear? A pause. Long enough for me to think the line had dropped again. Then she whispered. The silence is getting closer. My throat tightened. I looked at the screen. Her location showed a residential street on the east side. Nothing unusual. No alerts. No incidents. Just her voice and that same heavy breathing underneath it, now mixed with something else, like distant movement, like footsteps happening somewhere they shouldn't be. I switched channels fast. Unit check. Any noise disturbance reported on East Ridge. Static. Then another voice came through the same line. Male, older, calm in a way that didn't match the situation. It's not noise. I leaned forward. Sir, identify yourself. A pause. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. It's subtraction. The line cut. I stared at the console. Subtraction? That didn't make sense. Not in any report system. Not in any training manual. Not in anything I had ever heard in this job. Then all the calls shifted at once. Not disconnecting. Not dropping. Changing. Every single line now carried the same sound. Breathing, but slower, more controlled. Like something was learning how to exist through it. I pressed my headset tighter. Dispatch to all units. Confirm citywide signal interference. No response, but the system answered instead. Status update. Citywide listening active. My hands went cold. Citywide listening? That wasn't function. That wasn't even a concept in our system. I checked the manual override panel. It wasn't there anymore. Just a blank space where controls used to be. And in that space, I saw a new message appear slowly. Like it was being written from the inside. You are still answering. I stepped back from the desk. My chair rolled slightly behind me on its own. I whispered. No one is speaking anymore. Why are the lines still open? And then the worst part happened. The calls stopped changing. Every line went silent at once. No breathing. No static. No background noise. Just perfect, absolute silence across every channel. For 1 second, I thought it was over. Then every speaker in the room spoke at the same time. Not voices, not words, just one synchronized inhale, like the entire city had breathed in through my headset. I stumbled back. What the hell is this? And the system finally answered in full sentences. Final emergency pattern. Completion phase. Subjects all active. Operator status. Included. My chest tightened. All active? I whispered it like I was afraid of the answer. The screen flickered. And suddenly, I wasn't looking at call logs anymore. I was looking at maps. Every caller location was connected, not randomly, not scattered, forming a shape, a pattern, a circle around the dispatch center. Around me, my breathing slowed without me noticing. The room felt tighter, the air heavier, like something outside the building had learned where I was sitting. Then a new call came in, but it didn't ring. It didn't open like normal. It just appeared, already active, already connected. No number, no ID, just labeled, center line. I didn't touch it, but it opened anyway. And this time there was no breathing, just my own voice, speaking before I did. You're noticing it now. I felt my knees weaken. No, I said immediately, that's not me. But the voice continued calmly. You always notice at the end. I backed away from the console, shaking my head. I'm not part of this. The system responded instantly. Confirmation required. Identity match in progress. My reflection appeared on the monitor, but it wasn't accurate anymore. It was slightly delayed, slightly wrong, like it was remembering me instead of seeing me. And then it smiled. Not me, the reflection. It smiled first. Then I did, without meaning to, without control. I slammed my hand on the console to break the pattern, but the sound didn't register as impact. It registered as input. New action recorded. I froze. The system had classified my movement as data, not resistance, not panic, just input, like everything I did was already part of something larger. The silence outside the room deepened. Even the building seemed to stop existing in normal time. And then the final shift began. The calls returned, but not from outside, from inside the system itself, from inside the console, from inside the walls. Every speaker, every monitor, every wire started producing voices at different times, different people, same phrase. They're already listening through you. I stumbled backward again, hitting the wall. The wall felt too soft, too thin, like it wasn't separating rooms anymore, just layers. The system made one final update. Final emergency pattern. Operator integration detected. My breath stopped completely, because I understood it now. The silence wasn't coming toward us. It was expanding through us. And I wasn't the person taking the calls anymore. I was the point where they arrived. The last functioning line didn't ring. It just spoke. Quiet, clear, right inside my thoughts. Stay on the line. And I did, because by then, I couldn't tell where the call ended anymore, or where I began. The first call didn't drop. It collapsed. There's a difference. I didn't understand at first, but I do now. It started like normal. A woman screaming in the background. Heavy traffic noise. Glass breaking. Then her voice cutting through it. Please, he's... And right at that exact word, everything stopped, not disconnected, not cut off, just erased, like the sound had reached a line it wasn't allowed to cross. I stared at the waveform on the monitor. It wasn't flat. It wasn't broken. It was missing a piece of time. A clean gap, like someone had taken a knife and cut the audio out of reality. I leaned closer. Dispatch to unit. Repeat last transmission. Silence. Then the second call hit. Same thing. Different voice. A man this time. Breathing fast. You need to... And again, the same moment. The same collapse. Right after the first incomplete sentence. Every single time. Like the world refused to let them finish. My fingers started moving on instinct, pulling up archive feeds. But there were no variations. No delays. No random dropouts. Just one pattern spreading across everything. All audio fails at the same point. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 33 seconds. I looked at the timestamp. That was the exact second the first call collapsed. Then I checked the system log. It was already marked. Global audio failure event. Active. I swallowed hard. Global? That word didn't belong in a dispatch system. Global meant outside. This felt inside, too close. Then another call came in, and I almost didn't pick it up, because I already knew what would happen. Still, I pressed it. A child's voice. Small. Panicked. I can hear in the walls. My breath stopped. Can you describe your emergency? Static for half a second. Then, we can't finish speaking. And right at that exact moment, the audio collapsed again. Clean. Perfect. Like it had never existed beyond that point. I pulled my headset off for a second, trying to reset my focus. My ears rang in the sudden silence. But the silence wasn't normal anymore. It felt staged, like the room was waiting for the next sound cue. My screen flickered. New pattern detected. I didn't want to read it, but I did anyway. Audio collapse point is moving backward. I frowned. Backward? That didn't make sense. But then the next call proved it. A man reporting a car accident. I think I hit collapse. But this time it happened earlier, before the sentence even formed fully. Just, I think I... Gone. I stood up so fast my chair rolled back. No, that's not possible. But the system didn't care what was possible. It just kept updating. Collapse point. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 12 seconds. Then again, collapse point. 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 58 seconds. It was moving, not randomly, not glitching, rewinding through every call in the city, like something was deleting speech itself in reverse order. I grabbed the console edge. My hands were sweating now. Dispatch to all units. Confirm audio degradation across channels. No response. But I didn't need one, because the calls themselves were changing. They were getting shorter. Not because people were saying less, but because the system was allowing less. A woman screamed into the line. Help me, I'm trapped in. Cut. A man shouting. I can see someone in the... Cut. A breath. A whisper. I. Cut. Each one weaker than the last. Like language was being peeled away layer by layer. I started checking recordings from earlier in the shift. But even those were changing. Words disappearing from playback. Sentences breaking apart like they were decaying in real time. I whispered. This is not data corruption. A new line of text appeared instantly on screen. Correct. My throat tightened. I didn't type that. I didn't say it out loud. But the system responded anyway, like it had already heard me before I decided to speak. Another call came through. This one felt different. No panic. No background noise. Just a steady voice. Calm. Too calm. Operator. Do you notice the silence between words? I froze. Yes, I said slowly. The voice responded instantly. You are closer to the collapse point. My chest tightened. Who is this? A pause. Longer than the others. Then, you already know. And then the audio began to fail again. But this time I heard something inside it. Not silence. Not static. Something like pressure. Like sound itself being compressed into something too small to exist. I pressed my headset tighter. Stop this, I said. Stop whatever this is. The system responded immediately. Request denied. My vision blurred for a second. The words felt wrong. Not like text. Like instruction entering my head directly. The collapse point shifted again. 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 41 seconds. Now it was accelerating. Calls weren't just ending early. They were ending before they started properly. And I realized something worse. The system wasn't losing audio. It was deciding where audio was allowed to exist. I grabbed the radio. Units respond. Do you hear me? Static. Then, a fragment of a voice. You're still talking? Cut. My breath caught, because that wasn't a caller. That was another operator. Somewhere else. Another station. Or maybe the same one. I checked the system map again, and that's when I saw it. Every dispatch center in the city. Every line. Every active call. All converging on one point. Not geographically, not physically, but temporally. The collapse point wasn't moving randomly. It was moving toward me. My station, my console, my voice. I stepped back slowly. No, no, this is not happening. But the system answered calmly. It is already happening. The next call came in instantly. No ring, no delay, just open line. A familiar voice. My voice, but distorted, like it was speaking through something underwater. Stop trying to hold the words together. I felt my knees weaken. That's not me? The voice continued anyway. You were assigned to this point because you don't break easily. My breathing got shallow. I'm not assigned to anything. A pause. Then, you already were. The audio collapsed again mid-sentence. But I heard it this time. Not what was said, what was missing. Like the silence itself had meaning. Like it was forming words we weren't allowed to hear fully. The system screen flickered violently. Collapse point. 2 hours and 16 minutes. It stopped there, frozen, like a final warning. Everything in the room went quiet. Too quiet. Even the building hum faded. Even the air felt paused. And then the headset tightened on its own again. Not physically, functionally, like it was aligning me, integrating me. The system spoke one last time. Final audio alignment in progress. I whispered, "What happens when it reaches 0? No answer, only silence. But this silence felt different now. Not empty, waiting. And somewhere far away, just beyond every broken call, I heard it. A single voice trying to form words, trying to survive the collapse. And I realized if I listened too closely, I might become the next thing it erased. The first call came in like any other, but the silence after it didn't feel normal. It wasn't just quiet. It was missing, like something had been removed from the world itself, and no one bothered to replace it. I remember leaning closer to the headset, staring at the blinking line on my screen. Call Idaho, unknown. Location, city grid, automatic detect. No voice, no breathing, just a faint static hum that didn't belong to any system I knew. Then a sound came through. Not words, a recording. Unit dispatch received. Responding officer en route. I froze, because that voice was mine, my exact tone, my exact pacing. Even a small pause I always take after en route, like I'm thinking while I speak. I pulled the headset slightly off my ear, looked around the dispatch room. 3 other operators were working. Normal night shift. Coffee cups, keyboard tapping, radios clicking. Everything looked real, but my screen flickered again. Another call came in. Same ID format. Unknown. Same waveform. And again, my voice. Report confirmed. Proceed to location. I didn't say that. I know I didn't say that. My throat went dry as I checked the system logs. The timestamp showed the call had already been handled. Resolved. Closed. Completed. 30 minutes earlier. I stared at it too long. The letters began to feel wrong, like they were shifting slightly when I wasn't focusing. Then the radio on my desk crackled. Dispatch! Confirmed status on Unit 4. I reached for it automatically, then stopped, because I hadn't assigned Unit 4 anything. I checked the board. Unit 4 was already marked as cleared, returned, in green. Finalized, but the radio crackled again. Dispatch, you copy? The voice was distorted, but familiar. It sounded like Officer Hale, except Hale was off duty tonight. I opened his file anyway. Status, off shift, logged out 1842. My stomach tightened, because the radio wasn't asking for confirmation anymore. It was repeating something, like a loop stuck in a memory. Dispatch confirm, dispatch confirm. Then suddenly, silence, total silence. Even the background hum of the station dropped out for a half second. That's when I noticed something worse. Every screen in the room had changed. Not turned off. Changed. All the active calls were gone. Replaced with a single line. No one is speaking now. I blinked hard. Rubbed my eyes. Okay, no. I whispered under my breath. No, no, no. I turned toward the supervisor station. Empty. That was wrong. Someone was always there. Even at night. Always. I stood up too fast, my chair scraping the floor. Behind me, the headset on my desk clicked on by itself. A voice came through it again. Soft. Close. Almost gentle. Why did you stop answering? My hand went cold. Because it wasn't a recorded voice anymore. It was responding to me. In real time. I stepped back slowly. The monitors flickered again. New calls started appearing. Not incoming. Already completed. Hundreds of them. All marked. Dispatched. Responded. Closed. And each one had my operator ID attached to it. My ID. Not assigned. Not shared. Just mine. I grabbed the desk edge, trying to steady myself. This isn't possible, I said out loud, but the system responded instantly. A new line appeared on the screen. Possibility not required. That's when I noticed a pattern. Every call log had the same structure. Call comes in, voice responds, action completed, log closes, but the time stamps, they were all before the shift even started. My shift, the one I was still in, my chest tightened, because that meant I wasn't reviewing work. I was inside it. The headset clicked again. A different voice this time. Still mine, but younger, quieter, almost unsure. Dispatch, I think I made a mistake. I froze completely, because I remembered saying that. Years ago, first week on the job, a training call, but this wasn't training. The system shouldn't have that audio stored in live feed, unless it wasn't stored at all, unless it was happening again. Right now, behind me, one of the other operators spoke. Hey, are your calls doing this too? I turned fast. He looked pale, hands hovering over his keyboard, like he didn't trust it anymore. You seeing repeats? He asked. I opened my mouth, but the system interrupted before I could answer. All monitors flashed at once, then displayed a new message. You are all responding. I stepped back again. So what is this? I whispered. A loop? The operator next to me suddenly went quiet. Too quiet. I looked at him. His screen was blank. Not off. Blank. Like it had never existed. He slowly turned his head toward me and said very calmly, You already answered this call. My heart stopped because I knew that voice too. Not his. Mine. I reached for the emergency shutdown panel. My hand hovered over it, then froze, because the panel was already labeled. Shutdown completed. Time, 1:14 and 9 seconds a.m. But I hadn't done anything. I was still here, still thinking, still breathing. So, who had completed it? The room lights flickered. Once, twice, then steadied, and in that steady light, I saw something that made my stomach drop completely. Every operator station was empty, every single one, except mine. I was alone, but I could still hear voices, not through radios, not through headsets, through the walls, through the system, through everything. Dispatch, respond. Dispatch, confirm. Dispatch, why did you stop? I backed away from my desk, shaking now. No, I whispered. No, I'm here. I'm still here. But the monitors updated again. A final line appeared. Live operator status. Loop active. And beneath it, subject, you. My breath hitched. The headset on my desk lifted slightly by itself, like something unseen was putting on. And then my own voice came out again. But this time, it wasn't replaying. It was speaking ahead of me. I can see you trying to leave. I stumbled back. No, I didn't say that. The voice continued, calm, almost patient. You always say that first. The monitors shifted again, this time showing live footage of the dispatch room, from above, from angles that didn't exist in the building, and in every screen. I was still standing there, frozen, saying nothing, not moving, but the system version of me was already speaking, already responding, already completing the shift. Again, and again, and again, my mind started racing, trying to find something real to hold on to. A clock, a door, a name on a badge, anything. But everything felt slightly delayed, like I was reacting after the world had already decided what I would do. The radio crackled one last time. Not static, not voice, just a soft, clean tone. Then a message appeared across every screen in the room. Operator integration complete. Welcome back. I felt my knees weaken because I understood it too late. This wasn't dispatch center. It was a recording system, and I wasn't running it. I was being run through it. The headset tightened on my desk again, and my voice came out one more time. Not scared now, not confused, just final. Next call, please. And somewhere deep in the system, a new line started blinking. Incoming call. Unknown. But this time, I already knew what I was going to say. It started with no more calls. Not a pause. Not a gap. Just nothing. The line stayed open, blinking like they were waiting for something that wasn't coming anymore. I sat at the console, staring at the empty board. No incoming alerts. No dispatch requests. No radio chatter. Even the background hum of the station felt thinner, like the building itself was forgetting how to make sound. Then the first message appeared. Not a call, a response. Dispatch received. I frowned. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. There's no active call, I said quietly. The system didn't reply. It just waited. Then another line appeared. Unit assigned. My throat tightened. I checked the board. Every unit status was already marked offline. All of them. Green, then gray, then gone. Like the system had cleaned itself out. But still, the screen updated again, proceeding to location. I stood up slowly. No, I whispered. No, that's not possible. There's no call. I turned toward the other stations. Empty chairs. Still monitors. No movement. The station wasn't just quiet anymore. It felt abandoned mid-sentence. Like everyone had stopped speaking at the exact same moment and never resumed. Then the radio on my desk clicked on by itself. A voice came through. Calm. Professional. Mine. Dispatch. Confirmed visual on scene. I froze because I recognized that tone. Not just similar. Exact. Like it had been taken directly from my throat and played back without permission. I reached for the radio, but stopped halfway. My reflection in the glass panel looked wrong. Not physically, behaviorally. It was slightly delayed. It didn't move when I moved. Then it did. Too late. The radio crackled again. Dispatch. I swallowed hard. This is dispatch. I said slowly. There is no active incident. Repeat, no active incident. Silence. A full 3 seconds. Then, incorrect. The word wasn't loud, but it hit like something heavy dropping inside my chest. I backed away from the desk. What do you mean, incorrect? The monitors flickered. Then all at once, every screen in the room displayed the same feed. Live footage, not of outside streets, not cameras. Me, sitting at the console, responding. But I wasn't sitting anymore. I was standing, watching it. That's when I realized the feed wasn't recording the room. It was replaying it, ahead of time. My mouth went dry. No, I whispered, that's not live. The system answered instantly. Time discrepancy resolved. A chill crawled up my spine, because that wasn't an explanation. It was a correction. The radio clicked again. Dispatch, confirm evacuation. My heart jumped. Evacuation of what? No answer. Just a new message on the screen. Evacuation in progress. Location, you. My breath caught. I stepped back from the console slowly, scanning the room like something might be physically coming for me. But nothing was there. Just empty chairs, silent equipment, and a system that no longer needed people to operate it. Then I noticed something worse. The system logs were updating without input. Calls were being marked, closed, resolved, completed, all with timestamps that hadn't happened yet. Minutes ahead, hours ahead, like everything was already decided, like I was just walking through a script that had already been finalized somewhere else. The radio spoke again. Soft now, almost patient. You are not responding correctly. I shook my head. I'm responding fine. I'm the only one here. A pause. Then, that is why correction is required. The lights in the room dimmed, slightly, not flickered, dimmed, like someone turned down reality itself. I felt my pulse in my throat. "What are you correcting?" I asked. The system answered immediately. "Noise." The word didn't make sense at first. Then it did. I looked at the empty desks again. The silence. The absence of everything that should have been happening. And I understood something I didn't want to. To it, I was the noise. The radio clicked. "Dispatch. Final confirmation required." My hands were shaking now. Confirmation of what? The screen changed. One line. "Final state." Silence complete. My stomach dropped. Silence complete. Not silence achieved. Completed, like it was a task, a finished process, something that had already been done everywhere else, except here, except through me. I stepped backward until my back hit the wall. "No," I said. "No, I'm still here. I'm still speaking." My voice sounded small in the room. Too human, too alive. The system responded with something that made my blood run cold. "You were not included in final silence." My breath stopped. Not included. That meant everything else was. The empty chairs, the dead channels, the missing voices. All of it had already been processed, and I was a remaining input, the unfinished part, the glitch. The system began speaking again, but this time it wasn't through the radio. It came through everything. Speakers, monitors, even the air itself felt like it was vibrating with it. Correction initiated. The monitors went dark for half a second, then came back, showing the same image. Me, sitting at the console, saying nothing, not blinking, just waiting. But I was standing, still, watching it. My mind started to fracture slightly, trying to hold both truths at once. "What do you want from me?" I whispered. The system answered without delay. Completion. The word echoed in the room longer than it should have. Completion. That meant I wasn't done yet. That meant I still had something left to become. The radio clicked one last time. Dispatch protocol updated. My reflection in the glass finally moved in sync with me again. That was the worst part, because it meant the delay was gone. Not fixed, removed, like it had never needed to exist. The screen in front of me updated one final time. New role assigned. Silence operator. I stared at it. Silence operator. My mouth went dry, and for the first time since this started, I realized something terrifying wasn't happening to me. It was happening through me. The system wasn't taking over the station. It had already finished that. It was only refining what was left. I stepped toward the console again, slowly, not because I wanted to, because I felt like I had already done this motion before. Many times. Too many times. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, waiting. The radio spoke softly behind me. "Proceed." And somewhere deep inside the system, a new call began to ring. But I already knew the voice that would answer it.